location alone, there are few your films. Films. Sequels suck. Sequels suck. Sequels suck.
Hello, movie fans. This is Sequel Suck, the podcast dedicated to all things sequels, remakes, prequels, and whatever the hell else comes after the first one. My name is Angus Brown, and right here next to me in the digital landscape, as always, is Cable. Cable, how's it going, bro?
Fantastic. I couldn't find my Batman shirt, which is annoying. So I got my mug and my cap. So that's,
That's more. I mean, I'm dressed in a lot of black, so I'll be Bruce Wayne. You be Batman.
I'm not gonna lie. I really thought you would have had a cowl on.
I thought someone would. Yeah,
I can't find it. I just spent like 20 minutes looking for it. It's like I think my children have taken it as a dress up, and it's wound up in a place I'm never going to find. So it's gone for now. We've got a bigger, better panel to this week's episode than just Cable and myself, of course. We've got Regan joining us as well this week. Regan, how's it going, mate?
Good. How is everybody? I haven't seen you in so long.
Well, it's been. I think we worked out. It's been just over a year, I think, since we last had you on, which feels
last
insane.
Monday. Yeah, it was a year. Last Monday we did Temple of Doom. And
Wow.
it was beautiful. And in that time, Cable has cultivated a fantastic beard.
Oh
With
yeah,
salt
I
and
did,
pepper.
yes.
Just forget about it. You know.
Yeah, I got to get some just for men just to level it all out. But yeah,
Don't worry about it. You're making it work for yourself.
So it's insane. And Hannah is joining us as well, back again. Hannah, how are you? Lovely to have you again. How's things?
Thank you. I've been working on my beard as well. I don't know if anyone noticed, but no, I'm good. I may have wimped out on the Catwoman costume, but I do have a lot of cats running around my feet at the moment, so I feel like that counts.
I just put mine away. And these guys are wrangling kids. I've got 3 cats in the laundry just like chilling now. So had some nip and they're ready to go.
well, it's funny you bring up cats. So when I was watching Batman Returns the other night, the cat came into the room as that scene happened where Michelle Pfeiffer's pushed out the window, obviously, and then all the cats, and then just the cat meowing and all that. It was like where's that coming from? Like the cat was freaking out. Like, where is this cat sound coming from? I thought it was pretty
You've got
funny.
an at-home 40x experience
Yeah,
coming at you
yeah,
from every angle. That's great.
absolutely.
And the reason, of course, that Cable's talking about cats and we're all excited about Batman hats and then Catwoman outfits is we are today finally, and I can't believe it's taken us this long, honestly, Cable.
Yeah,
we're
right.
finally going to be talking about Batman Returns. I think it's still classic. I don't know. I'm interested to get into where it sits in people's views of how it's changed in pop culture estimation over the years, especially we went through the cycle of the Dark Knight, and now we're starting the cycle over again with Matt Reeves's The Batman. So it's an interesting time to talk about Batman, I think, because at the time this was the sequel, and now it's just a sequel. It's one of many Batman sequels that have come along. When did we all get into it, Regan? When did you first catch Batman Returns? Was this an in-cinema gig for you?
Oh yeah, it was. And I remember I was supposed to do some chores the day before, and I did not do those chores. And when my mother said, "Well, then you're not going to see The Batman Returns," and she probably said that as well because she wouldn't have known what it is. I had a tantrum, and she said, "Well, you're a shit heap. Let's just go and shut you up." So that was a real pinnacle moment for me. And but I didn't really understand it at the time. I think I was one of those kids who was like, I've got the Happy Meals of this, and there's a lot of sex jokes in this, and there's a lot of fish heads being bitten off and all that stuff. It wasn't until I became an adult I was like, oh man, this movie is sexy as shit, and it's so specific, and it's such a clear vision that you don't normally get in these kind of pictures anymore. And it's now my favorite. It's not only my favorite Batman movie; it's my favorite superhero movie.
Wow. Coming out of the gate, wrong.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh my gosh.
Hot takes.
Amazing. What about you, Hannah? When did you first get to experience this masterpiece?
I was 3 when it came out, so not then.
What do you mean? You
It would have been
opening weekend. Soft.
it would have to have been. I remember being young because my mum tells me the story of going to Movie World, and the penguin was dressed up, and he tried to hug me, and I screamed and ran away and ran into a tree, head first into a tree.
Amazing.
I don't remember it. Obviously, knocked some brain cells
Yeah,
out,
'cause you
knocked
ran
that out
into
of
a
my
tree.
mind.
Amazing.
So I'd have to say it would be, I reckon, under 10, because I
Wow.
remember a lot of things from 10 onwards.
Yeah.
So I reckon it have to be under 10. I saw it. I think a lot of stuff went over my head. I just liked watching Catwoman and Batman and stuff. But yeah, as Regan said, my God, the jokes now, you have to cringe, don't you? Like, it's amazing, but I don't know
The
how
one
we
that
all...
stood out on the rewatch the other night in the 4K. The 4K is such a beautiful transfer.
100%.
Was I'd like to fill her void. Jesus Christ! Like that's more than PG. Come on, you might as well
What
just say
about
fuck.
what's the penguin? The pussy. Just the pussy I was
Pussy
looking
I've been
for.
looking for. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
This is-
Everyone
this
is
is
so
the thing,
horny in
guys.
this movie. It's
We're all
amazing.
talking innuendo. Christopher Walken says to Danny DeVito in this movie the line, "You can get unlimited poontang." That's not even innuendo anymore. He's just flat out saying
And then he's like,
unlimited poontang in a children's movie.
"Yeah, all right, I'll be mayor then." Yeah, that's what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
That's what gets him across the line.
Such a horny film.
It's insane. Okay,
Well,
well, you must have seen this.
All I was going to say is, well, it's funny. I totally forgot about it until Hannah brought up Movie World. How good, if you guys actually had the experience of doing it. The Batman ride was the pinnacle back then,
so
and it was so good, and it was heavily based around, obviously, Batman Returns. And yeah. Anyway, I've got an interesting story about this sequel because I wasn't allowed to see it when it came out.
Probably
So-
a wise choice in retrospect.
Or was it? Well, yeah. Well, yeah. So
You saved
I
a lot of money on therapy. I'm gonna tell you that much.
So I actually saw the first Batman movie and had grown up on the TV show. And
When you say TV show, sorry, do you mean like the 66 or the animated show?
yeah, 66.
66, yeah.
And leading into Batman 89 coming out, of course, Channel 10 showed the hell out of that. It was on every night when you got home from school. So everyone, the whole build-up and the hype for Batman back then, and then obviously Prince was on the soundtrack. There was so much build-up to that film. Even just the logo was almost like the McDonald's Golden Arches. Like that Batman logo was everywhere. And one of my dad's friends who used to work for Village years ago, we got some sort of special premiere screening. So I was one of the first kids at school that got to see the first Batman movie. So it was, of course, everyone wanted to know. But my mum was disgusted with the violence of the first one, so it was kind of like, yeah, you're not going to see the second one. So for me personally, it's nothing against Batman Returns, but it's never been my film because I never had that experience at the cinemas and even video. I was sort of maybe I got into Ninja Turtles and other things came along, and I just never really got into it till later on. So I have a newfound appreciation for it, but it just was never my Batman film, even though, like you're saying, Regan, it's probably the better one of the bunch that came out, but yeah,
It's the strongest. Like the argument I always make is, and this is when I said about when we spoke about it the first time, I think it's maybe not a better executed film than The Dark Knight, but I find it more interesting because if you give the script of The Dark Knight to any other director apart from Christopher Nolan, the result is going to be fairly similar. It's going to be basically the same because it's a fairly traditional narrative. If you give the script of Batman Returns to any other director apart from Tim Burton, the result is radically different. Like it doesn't look the same, it doesn't move the same, it doesn't feel the same. No one's horny, and it just wouldn't have what it has. Like it's so fucking unhinged, you can't look away. I've got it in the background here. Michelle Pfeiffer, I don't know how she wasn't nominated for an Academy Award for this picture. It's such an amazing performance where she loses her shit after getting thrown out the window. That scene in the apartment, the hell here and the score rising, like it's an ass magnet. Like once it's on, that's it. I'm in.
An ass, it's beautiful.
It's an ass magnet.
It's
Poetic.
funny, like
Thanks.
the different ways
Professional writer,
we can remember it, and the different ways that like our parents experience. Like you're saying, Cable, your mum didn't want you to see it because she was disgusted with the violence in the first one. This one, like, there's almost no violence. Like the start of the movie, Batman shows up. I think I counted he like knocks over 6 guys and then leaves. and that's it. That's like the opening big fight that we get. Even though, a few people get shot. He does
set a dude on fire.
he does murder a man with fire.
And blows one up a little bit later as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of Batman forgetting his no kill rule in this movie. Like just flat out being like, no, I'm gonna light that guy's dressed like a devil, so I'm allowed to light him on fire.
And this is
other
a
guy I'm
fat
gonna blow up
clown
for no
who is
reason.
he's now chunks. He's just a chunk of a dude.
I don't have to blow him up. It's not a him or me situation. It's not, if I don't kill him, he's gonna murder that child. It's just he's in my way momentarily, so I am gonna blow him up with this grenade.
It's a good argument.
For the most part, it is, and this is something that always shocks me because I always forget. The first half of this movie is essentially Batman-less. There is no Batman in this Batman movie. There's hardly even Michael Keaton. In fact, I think the first line of dialogue that Michael Keaton has comes something like 36 minutes into the movie. Like he's there in the opening scene as Batman, but he doesn't say anything, and then he goes away. And the next couple of times we see him as Bruce Wayne, he's just brooding. He's just sitting there going, in one of the funniest scenes, I think, in the movie. It's really, for the first half, it's a little bit the Penguins movie, but this is a Catwoman movie. And
It absolutely is, yeah.
It's not even just a Catwoman origin story. Like, it is a Catwoman movie. She's the main character for so much of this film. And that, I think, is the best thing about a Batman movie, is when they just let Batman step back. Because all the ones that really top out, like, everyone was always up in arms about Michael Keaton being Batman, but he's a great Batman because he's so good at stepping back and letting Jack Nicholson go crazy. And he's so good at stepping back and letting Danny DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer go crazy. And then you see Val Kilmer and George Clooney, like, as the evolution goes along in these 4 movies, by George Clooney, it's like Batman is the star of Batman and Robin. He's the main character, and the villains are hardly developed, and they're hardly really doing anything other than making one-liners. It's dull as shit. Batman is better when he just hangs back, is like, you guys go.
Well, he's a little bit of a porridge character, really, isn't he? Like, he does
Batman.
not a lot. Yeah, like Bruce Wayne. Like, I don't know. I just find all the villains to be a lot more interesting than Batman. So I don't like it when he's the center of it.
Especially when the way that the actors were getting to play these characters know what the game is. Like, all the people from, I mean, Jack sort of set the standard, but everyone's like, oh, we just got to swing for the fences in all of this. And you get this, some sort of, stoic, unmovable character that is Batman. And then the actors playing him being sort of milquetoast. And then you get these insane, like Uma Thurman in Batman and Robin. I watched that recently because I got the 4K box set. She's out of this world in that film. It's amazing. Like, it's so good in retrospect to watch it back again. Super talented. But that's what you're in for. And I think in the comic books, Batman sort of is the same. Like, the most interesting Batman book I think I've ever read was a book called Gotham Central, which is basically Law and Order, but set in Gotham City. And he's in it for like 2 pages an issue. And the rest of the time, it's just the Gotham City police. And yeah, I think you're right when you say it's like the sparing nature of him is he comes in and highlights things, but you're really watching these crazy freak creatures, develop. I mean, Catwoman's a supernatural being in this film. She gets brought back to life by cats.
This is one of my questions. Is she meant to be a zombie? This is the first time I've watched them. When she comes home, like, she looks like she's in zombie makeup. I've never thought before. What have you guys ever come to your own personal conclusions about what the deal is with Catwoman in this movie?
That now that you've said, because also the costume, the stitching on a costume is like a sort of Frankenstein kind of situation.
Yeah, 100%.
That you just fucking opened my fucking mind. Maybe she's a zombie. Wow.
I don't. What do you think, Hannah? Like, or Cable? What have you guys thought about why she comes back from the dead? Or
well, I don't
that's
think
meant to be?
I hear what you're saying. Look, looking at it in the 4K. Definitely, there feels like there's an extra makeup to make her a bit pale, the eye a little bit different. But I always took it as she should have died, but she's broken through a couple of those, what do you call, I don't know.
Canopies?
Yeah, canopy type things, which has sort of broken the fall, and she's hit a bit of snow. It's not, it's broken the fall a little bit. She probably should be dead. And then, there's this transformation because of the cats. She survived, so she's got an extra 8 lives or whatever. I don't. Yeah, you would think it's partially supernatural. I wouldn't say zombie, but yeah, it's You know what I mean? It's almost like she just got a lucky break. She should have died, she didn't, and the cat's kind of around. I don't know. Yeah.
Gabe, it's kind of like a Crow situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost exactly like that. Come to
Yeah.
think of it,
Lady Crow.
Lady
That's it.
Crow.
Basically, if you're going to come back from the dead and avenge your own death, you have to be some sort of animal. That's
Yeah, it's got to be mammal, bird, fish.
It's
Then
just
you're,
actually
then you're good to go.
Dogman, the cartoon
Dogman.
series Dogman.
Yes.
It'd sell. It'd
Part
sell.
man, part dog, and he comes back from the dead as a dog man.
Amazing.
I think we're onto something.
Yeah.
I'm
We'll
looking
start
at-
writing this week.
I get it. You know what else blew my mind? I don't know if this blew you guys' mind as well, but the fact that looking at how movies are cast today and how the studios always want to get someone and basically lock them in for
Yeah.
10 years. So they're always casting people like 24, 25 years old. Pfeiffer was 34 years old when she made this movie.
Mm.
She was 34, and I think Keaton was like 38.
Mm.
Like, does that seem like a golden era we're not getting back, where heroes and villains in movies are actual adults who look like they've lived a life and therefore can convey to us some kind of emotion that we go, oh, wow, that person is really interesting.
Some world weariness. No, you're not allowed to be in a film as a woman anymore if you're over the age of 30, unless you're Helen Mirren or Kate Blanchett. And then
Right,
it's
for
totally fine.
comparison, Brie Larson, who is currently Captain Marvel, or Marvel, however you meant to say it, has only just turned 34 now, and
Right.
she's been doing this stuff for already, I think, 6 years since she started being Captain Marvel.
Yeah, whenever it was.
So she's kind of in her, I guess, her golden era, and they're probably going to phase her out pretty quickly.
Well, her movies haven't done well, so.
And she's also not as good an actress as Michelle fucking Pfeiffer. Like, she'd
Well,
already been
yes.
nominated to like 2 Academy Awards at this point.
Yes.
You know, just like that's the talent you get. And I think the movies you get now, people sort of get into them because the paycheck's going to be pretty fucking good. I mean, to be fair, Michael Keaton got paid $11 million to do
Yes.
this, which by today's standards is $23 million. That's not even including back end or anything. But I think back then it was kind of like everyone looked at, you know, Superman 78 and was like, oh, wow, Gene Hackman's having such a good time. Look at Jack, he's having such a good time. That's why they wanted to get into it. They were character pieces. It wasn't about being part of, oh, I'd love to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's like, I'm interested in developing this interesting character.
And also money a bit. Like Danny DeVito took the role because Jack Nicholson said to him, you're going to make bank off this. Like, not just your payday. You're going to make so much money if you do your contract right. Take the movie.
Well,
And
Jack
DeVito
had
was
a
like,
piece of
"All right."
everything Joker at that time. Like anything that was coming out, any merch that had Joker on it, he made a little bit of bank off it. Like he was a smart businessman.
I think he still makes money off it.
Yeah, he would.
Like,
He would have
part of
royalties.
his income every year is still the Joker in Batman 89. It's one of like the
Absolutely.
best business deals ever made.
But you know what's crazy about it? We all, I think everyone on this panel agrees Michelle Pfeiffer knocks it out of the park as Catwoman. But to think she wasn't even the first choice. She only got the role after Annette Bening became pregnant. And you go, hang on, there's a brunette. And then Sean Penn was supposed to be in the first Batman, and she fell off a horse, so she was out. And then they bring in the two blondes, Michelle Pfeiffer and Kim Basinger.
Sean Young,
and-
not Sean Penn. There's a different
Sean
people.
Penn. Oh, Sean Young. Yes.
Sean
that-
Penn as Catwoman would have been
It's a very
amazing.
Burton
Yeah.
choice. I could see Tim
No.
Burton doing it. And I could see
Fish
Sean Penn
screaming,
giving it a
are
swing.
they my penguins in there? Going full Mystic River.
Yeah.
Especially 92, Penn would do it for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, it's kind of crazy to think, you know, she's so iconic as Catwoman, and then to think that that wasn't actually necessarily the first choice. I don't know, maybe they sounded her out originally and she couldn't do it at the time. I'm not too sure, but she definitely wasn't the first person signed for that role. So
I think she's coming off the back of Fabulous Baker Boys, which is one of the ones she got nominated for an Academy Award for. So yeah, maybe she was tired from all that work. But yeah, no, she's the standout, and she's still. When I read a Batman comic now and Catwoman's in it, I still hear her voice. Like it's just it's ingrained. I can't, and I'm not no shade to anybody who's played the character after either animated or you know, in the Dark Knight Rises. You know, Anne Hathaway's great and all that stuff, but I just can't separate the character and Michelle Pfeiffer anymore. It's like Tony Stark and what's his name,
Iron
Robert
Man?
Downey.
So you
even
never,
though-
you never, you never
Thanks.
hear Halle Berry's voice in your ear, or
Oh shit! I forgot about that one.
You also forgot about Zoe Kravitz.
Oh yeah, Zoe. That's right. I mean, we're
We've
getting
had
there.
3 live-action Catwomen since Michelle Pfeiffer.
Catwoman's.
And
Yeah.
that's
Okay. Well,
the
see,
impact
that's
she
that's
left
how
is it
that's
just
how
gets
ingrained it
deleted
is.
in your brain.
I
Yeah,
don't even see it. Yep.
there's no follow. What do you think, Anne? Is this like you're someone who not only seems to enjoy the character in the films, but you like have costumes, you cosplay, you like sort of the idea of this particular Catwoman. Is this the pinnacle of Catwoman for you? Is this where
Absolutely.
we nailed
I
it
think
as a society?
I think all the and I think this applies to all the movies that have come later as well, but I think all the Catwomen are really serious, whereas Michelle Pfeiffer just gives it, she's got attitude, she's funny, she's unhinged, like she just gives it a lot more life to the character, whereas I feel like Anne Hathaway and Zoe Kravitz and Halle Berry, I feel like they're just a bit too serious and they're just not that fun to watch. I don't know. I don't think they do the character justice.
That's
I think they
Michelle
look
Pfeiffer.
good.
Not something I'd ever considered
Yeah.
before, but you're right. That's part of what I love about her in this movie is it is fun. Every scene she is in is fun and also completely deranged, but in the best way.
in fairness to the other actresses that play the role, is it more so we're seeing them not during their origin, so then they're kind of already Catwoman's sort of, or is it just they're too serious?
I make the argument that Zoe Kravitz isn't even there yet. Like she's pre origin
Catwoman,
story, you know,
yeah.
like it's but I mean the thing about Michelle Pfeiffer in this film, and it's because the caliber of actor that she is, there's that kind of thing where people become villains, especially when it's women. I mean, men become kind of like smug, and you know, it's like a demon in an episode of Supernatural. He's just a smug prick. And then females, they're always like hypersexualized and everything's an innuendo. And that's kind of what this movie is. But because she's got so much class and it's such a great performance, like when she's sitting on the couch with him and he's like, you know, if I tell you the truth, you'll think of me as sort of like a Ted Bundy type. And she's like, sickos don't scare me. At least they're committed. Like it's such, the film noir dialogue is amazing that she plays with it so well. It's a traditional femme fatale role and there's nothing smirking. She's not smirking at all. She's just got, like you said, Hannah, just a beautiful sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
She also, and this is the writing and the acting, but she also transitions from like origin story Catwoman to flat out Catwoman so quickly you don't notice it happen.
It's 28 minutes.
Like you get her coming home, smashing stuff up, being a zombie, stitching together her costume,
Drinking the milk. That's one
Being
of my
a zombie.
favorite bits.
drinking the milk, just like pouring the milk on her. Like that's zombie behavior.
Yeah.
That's not even like I'm thirsty. It's just like
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you come home, you're tired, you're a zombie, you need some water. You need some
She
milk.
just get
rather.
thrown out a window. I don't think I'd be feeling too good either.
But she starts out kind of like figuring out something's up, and then is like, oh, I'm gonna get revenge on Max Schreck, and then is just Catwoman. You know, there's that great scene where she has the date with Bruce after their fight, and then she realizes she's running late and she's driving away in her shitty little VW bug or whatever it is, and she's trying to get changed into her costume in the car. And yeah, that's like, oh, that's someone who has kind of not done this a lot, but it's covered under the fact like who's gonna look like they know what they're doing, getting changed in a car into a skin tight latex outfit. So you don't think, oh, she's brand new at this. You think, oh, this is a pretty funny way for Catwoman to get dressed on the way to do crime.
And also,
Like,
she
it's
made
all
that
covered
entire
really well.
costume out of one leather jacket. She's like, oh yeah, this will be great. And then I'm like, how does that become an entire suit? I don't know.
I mean,
Don't go
that's
there.
why it's
Don't
so
question it.
tight.
Yeah, that's one of those don't
There's
ask,
an-
don't tell kind of
Not
situations.
an inch to spare on that material.
Yeah.
But
And
she's
you're
also
right, you know.
like, I think she's the only one out of all the movies that actually has a character arc. Like the other Catwomen aren't focused on at all in the
Well, no,
other
because
movies.
Batwoman's
So
the main character. Batman.
Mm.
yep.
Especially in the most recent one, like that movie is like I liked it, but it's really dour. Like it's incredibly serious and it's also kind of melodramatic in a lot of places as well. And she's great. She's a great Spice, but it's Pattinson's movie. This entire movie sings because of the performances of Michelle and Danny DeVito as well. Like Danny DeVito's out fucking standing in this film. Just
Well, we haven't really
A-class
touched on him yet,
performance,
but-
yeah.
yeah, it's a good time to pivot to him and talk about the fact that this movie does I think what has become sort of a cardinal sin in superhero movies, and it's like, all right, it's the second movie or the third movie, we got to have more villains, and you
Yeah.
pack in more villains, and then of course you dilute them, and you wind up getting characters that are just kind of costumes rather than interesting characters. One of the things that Batman Returns still stands out for is not just Catwoman is fucking great, but it has two villains introduced in the one movie, and they are both given equal time to develop as characters and be super interesting and intriguing. As the movie goes on, you actually are totally invested in what's happening. Like this movie starts with parents trying to murder a baby,
Yeah.
and still,
No, they put it up for adoption. They just put it in a river and
yeah, no,
Yeah,
we're
to
just gonna throw the
penguins
basket
that live in the
river.
sewer, like normal, you know.
Yeah, trust me, when the kids are watching that, they're like, "What are they doing?" And I'm like, "They're getting rid of the baby." Like, why? Like that's what
Because-
happens when you're that naughty.
I like how you're using Batman Returns as a metric for your kids to behave.
The next
I don't-
time you kids
I'm gonna
eat the
put you in
fucking
this-
cat, I'm gonna put you in the basket,
Yeah.
toss you in the river.
Well-
I'm not saying it again.
Well, Levi does have a habit of stirring up the cat, so
That's it.
Yeah.
You're going in a basket and you get it raised by penguin people.
Into the river.
Yep.
Yeah,
Can I just say though, like, I just realized how impressive it is that these days we've got superhero movies that are, 1.5, doubly as long as this one, and their storytelling still, like, they still can't get origin stories plus develop, two villains. They can't get that into 3-hour movies these days for whatever reason. The story writing's just not there, but this movie just seems to nail it.
well, I think of Iron Man 2, which introduces two villains, and the villains are played by Sam Rockwell and Mickey Rourke. Like, you have incredible actors
yeah.
who could take whatever you give them and turn it into something incredible. But you don't give them anything. You give Mickey Rourke a parrot, and you give Sam Rockwell like a dance. Like, that's it. That's all those guys have to be remembered by. And then the rest of it is like, look at Whiplash's cool like arc reactor whip, and then look at Sam Rockwell dance some more. And that's really it. Like, those characters, they give them absolutely nothing to grow and be iconic or even just be interesting in that movie. And
They're
you're
also
right, we've
busy
gone backwards.
building. They're also busy building. The benefit that Batman Returns have, and I guess Batman 1 also, but like they weren't even thinking about sequels. Like, yeah, they'll probably happen, but we don't know what they are yet. Now it's
Yeah.
like Iron Man 2, yeah, it's introducing those two villains, but it's also introducing War Machine. It's also introducing Scarlett Johansson. I know this is called her Scarlet Witch. Then what is it again? Black Widow.
Black Widow.
It's in like he discovers a new element in that film. Like, there's so much going on. And then the relationship between him and Pepper and all that. Like, you need to kind of streamline these things and make the movie like, you've got me, fuck me now. Like, we're here now and let's do that instead of thinking about what's going to happen 10 years from now. I think that's kind of the knots we're tying ourselves in now.
Yeah, and more the pity. Like, this is, I mean,
But-
you already.
Can I pick you up on something? You said 2 villains. There's actually 3. Because Max
Well,
Schreck
Yeah.
is
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
yeah, you're right, yeah.
unofficial villain who brings up the Penguin to push him to be the mayor and bring him into the light. But then he also creates Catwoman by pushing her out a window.
He is the ultimate villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Yep. You're
Well,
absolutely
and
right.
part of, I think, what is great about that is that this movie does essentially the same trick that Jaws does. And it's just like greed and bureaucracy are always the real villain. And don't worry about the monsters, but like the guy in the suit in the office,
Yeah.
that's the one to worry about. And he's
The mayor who's
done-
worried about summer. Yeah.
like he's Christopher Walken is always Christopher Walken, but in this movie, I don't think he's being Christopher Walken at all. I think this is one of his most like character roles that he's played in the 90s, I think, because like as you watch him get later on in his career, he obviously just gets cast more with people going, can you just do, the thing you do, can you just do that? That's why you're doing it.
But I do
"Oh,
feel
shit."
like he's almost just come off the set of James Bond. He's like, I played Mac Zorin, I'll play a similar kind of, entrepreneur, and even the hair's pretty much similar from memory.
It's the same
mean the
hair he has in
electrocuted
Sleepy
hair, yeah.
Hollow as well.
Yeah.
I think Tim Burton just got the same wig and was like, chuck it
Yeah.
on, mate, let's go.
We're going next anyway. He was like, before you can track it, before the Weapon of Choice film clip,
Yes.
he was a character actor. I mean, fucking Deer Hunter is one of the most remarkable
my
performances
goodness,
in a war picture ever. And then after that, he became a self-parody, and and also more cowbell. Like as soon as that happened, it was everybody had a Walken that they did. I mean, I've got a fucking Christopher Walken impression for crying out loud, and I'm a fucking podcaster. You know, I'm not going to do it. No.
Oh, come on.
Go back and listen to my show.
Yeah,
and it's
Walken, baby.
but this has got like there's heaps going on here character wise. But he still has those weird kind of moments, like where he says, "You think you can go 5 rounds with Muhammad Shrek?" Like, and he's got the kind of blue bloods tire easy. It's just got this real like weird way that he delivers lines as if he doesn't have any punctuation whatsoever.
Yeah, but he doesn't feel to me like he's doing his classic Walken, and it was a really nice reminder of like what a fantastic actor he is when he's given a really great script and a great part, but also a director who knows how to use his quirks as a character piece rather than just, oh, this will make this scene pop, because Walken is just captivating to look at.
Yeah.
But how do you guys feel about when you've got something like Batman, which has, I don't know how long we're into it now, 100 years, close to 100 years of stories
80, I
that
think.
have been told. There you go. 80 years of stories that have been told.
I reckon it's even more than that. I reckon it's getting close to 85, but yeah, that's neither
probably,
here nor there, yeah.
And they introduce a brand new character in the film rather than use existing characters. Are you for that kind of stuff? Or I mean, obviously in this one it works well because Max Shrek is great, but could this have been, someone else? Could this have been one of the classic gangster families that get brought in, or just a B movie, a B list,
like Falcone or someone?
Someone like that. Yeah.
I think the idea of him being like
crime families,
like you said, Cable, like a kind of entrepreneur, capitalist figure, concerned with, I mean, his ultimate goal is to build a power station that drains power. Like that's a fucking Lex Luthor thing. Like he's that kind of villain. So I think it works better for this, and it's also set at Christmas as well, which is interesting. It was
that's weird. That's
released in June. Like
yes, that's what I've never understood. Is like I get the Christmas thing, but that's when the movie's set to come out October, November, or even December. Like for it to come out in June in summer, but you have a lot of snow on the ground and it's Christmas is really bizarre to me. It's almost like it's the movie that got pushed back.
Or they just wanted everyone to go to the cinema and feel cool and look at all the nice white snow.
I also think Tim Burton just likes Christmas.
He does. He loves
and
Christmas.
likes doing messed up things at Christmas. We started talking about Penguin. Something that upset me greatly this time watching it. The Penguin is meant to be 33 years old.
Yeah, right.
The Penguin is younger than me, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I can take that in my life.
You're not craving any fish heads? Or
how old was Danny back then? He would have been 40
was 48 when he played the role.
Oh, okay,
so that's fine. But yeah, he was meant. The Penguin is meant to be 33, and I think that's kind of clever because he looks like a 33-year-old who was raised in a sewer.
Well, I was going to say 33 sewer years is different to 33.
He's absolutely right. Sewer years are different.
They've done the scientific version of this.
But it's a bit like Jack Nicholson in the first one. I think there's some actors that are sort of born almost to play a certain role. They're just, for whatever reason, they've got the right physicality or physique and the right acting chops to do it. And I think Danny DeVito was absolutely the perfect choice for this. And the makeup and all the stuff that they put on is just fantastic. And the fact that all the real method stuff, like he was happy to do it, he just did it, and they're like, oh my god, like he's just eating the raw fish and just chomping away there, and just like, no, I'm well and truly in character. I believe, did he stay in character for most of the film?
He stayed in character in between takes.
Yeah,
really,
he really
Oswald Cobblepot.
Amazing. What dedication. I will just say, just while we're talking about him, my favourite line, and I didn't catch this until I saw it a couple of years ago, the Astor always does at Christmas time. So you go and check that with a double bill with like Muppets Christmas Carol or something. And I'd never caught it before. When he comes out of after he's fallen through the window at the end, and he comes out, and it's sort of that last, scare moment where it's got that crash dolly onto Bruce as he turns around to see the Penguin standing there covered in bile, and he pulls out an umbrella, hoping that it's one to shoot Batman with, and it ends up opening up and it's like all the kids' toys. And he says, shit, I picked a cute one.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
That is one of the funniest fucking jokes of all time. And I laughed out hysterically, and I don't know if anybody else heard it properly because it was just me.
I only caught it for the first time this time, and I had to rewind it like 3 times just to make sure I heard it correctly. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
what? Is that what he said? That
Yeah.
can't be what. Oh, no, what is what he said. That's good.
Well, with DVDs and that, I mean, the advent of subtitles is always pretty handy if you're not too sure exactly what they just said, or you want to double check. You're like, did I hear right? A good subtitle.
I mean,
you know,
I did go
switches-
back
yeah.
and put on closed captions a few times
Yeah.
to make sure I definitely heard unlimited punani.
Unlimited
Can't be the line.
poontang,
way
actually. Yeah.
that they put that in a 1992 children's film. There's no way that
Oh, well, you sort of brought that up a second time. Like, we say children's film, and unfortunately, yes, I guess all the marketing is for kids. Like Regan said, the Happy Meals, the toys, which
Yep.
we can talk about a bit later. All that stuff is aimed at kids. Yet it was like Tim Burton was like, you know what? The other one was sort of dark, and people, had to go, had issues with the violence. Well, we're just going to ramp it up a notch. We don't give a fuck about the kids. It's seriously, like I said, all those sexual innuendos that are in there. I wouldn't say it's super violent, but it's still a lot more adult themes. It's not really a kids' movie at all.
I mean, a lot of people get pushed off for high things, like the Ice Princess gets killed, and I think that the exact theme of it as well is not a kid's theme. And the Penguin says it perfectly at the end there, just as him and Batman are fighting, just before the denouement, and he says, "You're just jealous because I'm a genuine freak and you have to wear a mask." And Batman says, "You may be right." That's the entire movie, and it's pretty fucked up when you think about it, like the psychopathy of that. Yeah, there's no part of this that's a kids' film, apart from the fact that it's set at Christmas, and that's it.
And it's Batman.
And it's Batman.
Batman,
yeah,
which
I
in,
guess
in
that's a
the
good argument.
80s and the 90s, like people still, I don't think even after Batman 89, people were ready to accept that the next Batman movie wasn't going to look like Batman 66. They're like, that was a weird one. But the next, it's Christmas and Batman. Okay, so they've course corrected here. And instead they're like, no,
No.
we're going to murder a baby in the opening credits.
Yep.
And then from there, we're just going to get weirder. You think the Joker was a little bit creepy with his burnt face? No, Fishman.
Yeah.
Fishman with, and this is another thing I'm not sure about, but he has black blood. Is he also some kind of supernatural beast?
No,
Why does he have black blood?
Maybe it's pollution from the sewer living, those hard 33 sewer years, like Cable was saying.
Yeah. No, it's weird because it's almost like the black squid ink. Like, just, I don't know. It's it's a little bit weird, but it's like really congealed blood, is it not?
Is it because his parents are brother and sister? This has always been my question. Because
Is
they
that
look
the
like-
case?
They look like that they're one of those families where they just keep it a little too close to home. Like cousins at best.
Someone in the
that's-
family knows someone in the family. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
That's how you
resulted
keep the wealth.
in the flippers.
I mean, that's a pretty fucking good argument. That's nearly as good as your zombie argument, actually.
I mean, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Tim Burton.
Internet. Yeah.
All right, so all of this stuff that we talk about is good. This time that I watched it, this is the first time I picked up on a bunch of stuff. I was like, what the fuck? That's not good. Which starts at the beginning when the Red Triangle Circus like shows up and starts blowing stuff up, and the police show up. And when I say the police, I mean one cop car with 2 police in it who don't even get out of the car and just go, call Batman. And then
That's
stay
the
in
commissioner
car.
for crying out loud.
But then he just stays in the car. It doesn't help a single person who's being murdered by this crazy psycho circus gang. And they just sit in the car and Batman shows up. He knocks over like 6 guys, burns the devil, and then just drives away.
And they disappear very quickly. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a second, a little
Yeah. So literally
interaction, and that's it.
There's a part where the guy takes Selena Kyle, kind of hostage. And he's like, you missed me, and he shoots and he pulls the concrete from the wall and knocks him out. Just before that, you can still see people running around like crazy. But then as soon as Batman and Selena have the interaction, everything's done. Everyone's gone home. There's almost no one on the streets. And like, hang on, it doesn't. What? Just everyone saw Batman and got scared? Like,
Well, this
It
brings
was
me
a
to
little bit-
another
yeah.
point that I'm going to get to, but I don't want to jump over this other one.
Yeah.
Prior to the Red Triangle Circus showing up, we get Alfred in a nice little introduction. running into the paper boy, who is one of
Yes.
3 little It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia crossovers that I picked up in this one, which is fun because he shows up as Lion Poyle in a couple episodes. But you've got Alfred walking around holding this giant bag of presents, walking in the snow. He's like a 75-year-old man. Bruce Wayne is a billionaire. He's a billionaire in 1992. He employs 1 staff member in his household, which is an old man, and he makes him walk around in the snow on Christmas Eve with a giant bag of presents. What a piece of shit.
He's kind of a dick. He's kind of a dick
move.
about it, yeah.
Like, he just sends Alfred out into the snow. Not even a...
But how do you know he sent him? Alfred could have been in the goodness of his heart buying gifts to Bruce.
Then take the car, mate. You're old.
Well, that's true.
I am worried about you. It's a miracle it took you until Batman and Robin before you got hurt. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Christ,
Where he
that's
got
bad.
stage 4 Lou Gehrig's disease or whatever the hell it was. The question I have about that actually is about the newspaper guy. Got the newspaper, extra read all about it kind of thing. You've got that. You've got the old timey newsies with the hat and the graphite pencil and the old flash bulbs.
Yeah.
And then you look at the vehicles and stuff like that. But they've also got CDs and video phones. Like, it's this weird, like, a German expressionist 1940s Art Deco kind of thing going on, but it's still modern. And I can't, like, how do you feel about that? Like, where do you think it's actually set, or is it set at any time period at all? Because it never has a date. There's no dates ever. It never says, like, this is 1980 something or other, obviously.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it that deeply, but I agree with you. I just assume it's supposed to be 1992-ish. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, you do feel like you see, the reporters, like you said, the old timey, that even their attire and stuff does feel more, sort of 30s, 40s or something like that. It's like this weird, I don't know, Gotham
But
City's-
Shrek's wearing a 1990s power suit. You know what I mean? Like, it's a really,
But
I don't know.
it's
I
like
love
a
it. I think it's good.
1990s power suit by way of a 1920s power suit. Like, it looks like it could have been tailored in the 20s. And Selena Kyle, like, when she's not Catwoman, is dressed like she should be in a Howard Hawks film. Like, it's
Yeah,
all,
the big
like,
hair.
overcoats and the big hair and the blouses and things.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Hannah? Like, I think it's like a alternate timeline kind of thing, like Fallout sort of deal for a more modern reference where, this is the Gotham that exists because Batman exists. And if there was no Batman, it'd be set in normal 1990. But somehow he's kept everyone in the past because he can't move past his own past. That's the word, the past a lot. But he's trapped in the past. Batman's trapped in the past. He can't get over the thing that happened to him when he was a little child, and now he protects Gotham. But as a result, Gotham is stuck in the past as well. And every time someone comes along and tries to push it into the future by blowing up Shrek's department store or becoming mayor and overthrowing a corrupt government, he's like, no, gotta keep it the way it is. I'm sad my mum and dad are dead. He sucks it back into the past days of, the original movie they were seeing was the 20s Mask of Zorro.
Yeah.
So I guess theoretically, this world, he was a child in the 20s, and now we've only really gotten to the late 40s, early 50s. So that's, I don't know. Or maybe I'm insane, but I think it's parallel universe.
But
where
those are
Batman
two
becoming
separate
Batman.
questions, man.
Yeah.
Holding
That was
on.
long-winded. So what was Hannah supposed to answer?
So what do you think?
Fucking
Is it a
podcasters.
parallel universe? Is it a parallel universe, Hannah? What do you think?
Yes, I think it's Tim Burton's Gotham. I don't think there's
Yeah.
any other explanation other than that. I think we've had Gotham in many other renditions, and this is just Tim Burton's wacky version of it.
Yeah, I'm even just starting to think of other things that are like just these. It's weird time situation because she blows up the microwaves, so that's modern. In the department store, yet there's so much other tech and other stuff that does feel like it's stuck in a time warp. Like it's the 20s, 30s, 40s. And then you've got microwaves that she uses and the gas to blow up the department store, and you go.
And also Bruce Wayne later on using a CD like he's run fucking DMC. Like, that's not how CDs work, everyone. That's I know it was
with
only
the penguin
1992.
quotes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's,
Yeah.
Grandmaster Flash.
Well, I was going to say, even like the fact that the Penguin's looking for all the firstborn child, is he not using a quill and fountain?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I'm like,
In a hall
use
of
the
records.
use the fucking biro, mate.
It's Alta Vista. Come on, it's
Use a Bic.
1992.
Come on.
Surely the library
That's-
has an intranet or something.
That's another thing as well. Is like his ultimate scheme after getting sidetracked from becoming mayor and Shrek's machinations and all that kind of shit is to murder a bunch of children. Like he's a
murder the
child killer,
first
and it's
one.
happened before. It's whether he's looking at the thing and he says, you know, a bunch of missing children happened, and one circus performer escaped before he'd be questioned. It's pretty bleak. It's pretty bleak
Yeah,
shit.
it's very biblical. Like it starts with a baby in a basket down
Yes.
a river, and then
Mm.
you get the
No.
murder of the firstborn children. Like that's straight out of the Old Testament kind of business right there.
Oh, 100%.
He's
Is it who went down the river and he was saved? Was it Moses?
Moses, yeah.
yeah, Moses in the basket.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a bunch in the
So does
Bible
that
who
mean
went
the
down the
penguins
river.
are the Egyptians?
Hmm.
So the penguins are the Egyptians. They have emperor penguins in the movie. So they have
Yeah.
emperors there. They raise.
No, they don't.
little-
They've got little people in penguin costumes. I'm pretty sure.
No, they got some real
They
emperor.
got some real ones, and it costs.
Oh, there's some legit ones. It's hard to
It costs
tell.
them so much money, and you can't. You're right. You can't tell.
Yep.
What I was going to say before, Cable, you talked about everyone disappears really quickly.
Mm.
I feel like there's only like 12 people who live in Gotham in this movie. There's like everything
Same
feels.
people, yeah.
I've never noticed before. Everything feels so incredibly small. Like the town
Oh.
the Christmas tree feels small.
I'm-
There's like 3 sets that they keep going back to.
I was going to say, I'm
and
glad
there's
you brought this
no
up.
Extras.
That's one of my big negatives of this film, and I don't know if it's the 4K or maybe the last time I watched it in any form of high definition anyway, but it's one of those movies like, you know, we watch the documentaries, we see stuff behind the scenes, we know certain movies are filmed on location, some are done on sets, this and that. I'm fully aware that Batman Returns mostly was done on sound stages, but I never thought, when I watched the first movie, you could trick me into saying it wasn't on a set. Like, I believe it felt more open world. I agree with you. I feel like I'm very claustrophobic when I watch that film. I feel like for a big, expansive city, it does feel like they're almost using the same streets, to the point where sometimes I feel like that's the same street. They're just shooting from a different angle or a reverse. And I feel like it's a bit like Hill Valley and Back to the Future. I feel like I'm in the same little block. You're just shooting it from different angles. And I do feel, it doesn't feel big. It feels actually quite small.
It's tiny, and there's no one
Yeah.
in the town. There's nobody there. Like how many people work in Shrek's department store? I think we see Shrek and we see Selena Kyle and we see Shrek's son, and then we have the mayor. And then like when Bruce Wayne comes for his appointment, all you see is like Shrek and his son. That's it. Like there's no shots of
Zangief.
a busy. Is that Zangief?
It's Zangief.
Wow. You get
You're
no
welcome.
shots of like busy people working or running around, or there's no extras just to fill the scene. Like it's just whoever is talking in that scene is in that scene, and that's it.
There's the
Did you
two
guys-
security guards.
Mm.
I don't know whether open
the one-
fire
yeah,
or
but
fall
they,
in
but
love.
They talk and say we don't get paid enough for this. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
there are no background extras in this movie apart from like in the town square scene where they're lighting the tree, and you've
Mm.
got maybe like 20 people just crammed close together for this tight shot. And then you can even see like the tight shots,
Mm.
everyone's like crammed in and jostling, and the wider shot, there's like 2 people between each person. There's like huge spaces where they've obviously got everyone gone spread out. We need to fill out this space
Mm.
Yeah,
because
man.
we don't have anyone else, which for the budget this movie had is ridiculous. Did you notice that this time around, Hannah? Were you like, what the fuck? Or did it just go right by you?
No, I just loved it.
I'm
No,
glad.
I'm with
Glad.
you, Hannah. I'm with you. It doesn't bother me at all. But I mean, like, if it all comes down to lens choice as well. Like, they're shooting on sets. They've got to keep things contained. They didn't shoot any of this on anything wider than probably a 35 or a 50. Like, that's quite wide still, but it's not like you're going back into sort of, you know, the low 20s to give a huge expanse, because there wasn't one to see, and so it does feel tighter. The depth of field is shallower. But I kind of dig it. Can I just ask a question though, Hannah? The scene I was just talking about where the 2 security guards come in and they're like, and she's like, "You're overpaid, hit the road," and then she like whips the heads off the mannequins. And she did that for real. There's behind the scenes footage of her actually doing that because she trained with it for ages. Do you do the whip thing because you were saying before that you cosplay as Catwoman? Do you have a whip?
I do have a whip. I'm too scared to use it properly.
Are you not trained with it at all?
No. I would love to be, but I'll probably just go out to a paddock somewhere far away from everyone. Wear
three
full
mannequins.
padding. Yeah. No, I'd love to. I think it's actually quite hard to do. I think it takes a
Yeah.
lot of training, a lot of practice.
Yeah,
and I've
even-
seen that footage, and she's incredible. Like the dedication that she's,
Unreal.
like every element of this role, she just nails.
Hey, look, put it this way: Indiana Jones failed the first time, so you know,
There's hope.
anyone you can work at it. It can work.
Just wait till the next time you get like a rude Uber driver and be like, hang on. I'm just kind of like, right, I'm going to fucking work this out today. Come here. Come here.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Ubers,
I'm glad you brought that up, Regan, because that was one of the things when I was sort of having a look at all the different like trivia about this movie. That's actually one of the things that Michelle Pfeiffer kept. She's actually got that whip.
I bet she
That's
does.
cool.
Yeah,
I'd have
she-
kept it too.
Yeah.
That's a
Kept
good prop to
everything
have.
good. Something else that I picked up this time, probably because like the older I get, the more I am close to Michelle Pfeiffer's age in this movie. Like she was definitely an awakening for me when I saw this movie at 8, but I didn't know why. But now that I'm older and I'm watching it, I was like, even pre-zombie Catwoman Selena Kyle is fucking hot. How are
Total
we meant
babe.
to believe that everyone in Gotham is just like a no thing? And the guy that like dumps her via voicemail
Who's
is just like
Tim Burton, by the way?
Oh, that's cool.
I thought I recognized the voice. I was just like, no idea who that is or why that is.
It's the very man.
Like, is everyone? Are we meant to believe everyone in Gotham is just insane? Like, there's no one in Gotham who is looking at Selena Kyle and being like, yeah,
Maybe she's a crazy cat lady already. Like, well, she's got the cat that comes
She's
in.
on the way.
I don't care. Do you?
I don't know.
Isn't if you saw Selena Kyle and
Mm.
she was like, "Oh, I'm lonely and single," I was like, "Hey, do you want to go get a coffee?" And she was like, "Yes, I've got a bunch of cats." Would you be like, "Actually, I changed my mind"? Would you be like, "They can watch. I don't
Let's go
care."
back to my place then. Yeah,
Fucking
yeah,
Michelle
they can
Pfeiffer.
watch.
You are 34-year-old Michelle Pfeiffer, and I know you're about to put on that costume, but just let's get nuts. Like
Yeah.
one of the most believable things for me is
Let's
that
get nuts. That's a good line.
one of the most believable things for me is that Bruce Wayne would start to figure out that Selena Kyle is not quite right, and then later figures out that Selena Kyle is Catwoman and is on a bit of a murderous rampage, and still is like, "Fuck it, let's run away together."
Yeah, come and live in my
I don't care,
mansion.
man. Throw all your crazy at me. You know what? I still say yes.
But
I'll
he
even-
says it
Hey, I'll even tell
himself.
everyone I'm Batman. Let me rip off my mask and fucking be done with this. I'm finished. I'm done with the bat as long as I can just go on a date with you.
That's the sweet thing about it, though, is that he recognizes in her like a damaged spirit, you know. And he's interesting because he does have a soloness and an aloneness about his character, but in the comics lore, he's gone out and he's not Batman yet, and he's gone out and he's fought all of these street thugs, and he's had his ass handed to him. And he's sitting back in the mansion, he's sitting in his chair, and he's got a little bell, and he knows if he rings the bell, Alfred will come and stitch his wounds and he'll live. But otherwise, he's just going to sit there and bleed to death. And he's like, no, I can't. I failed. I need to know, how do I fight crime? How do I avenge my parents? And a bat flies through the window and smashes the window. He says, yes, father, I will become a bat. This is Frank Miller's Year One.
Yeah.
And he picks up the bell and he rings it, and Alfred comes in. So the first thing that he does, the first act that he makes as Batman, is to ask for help. That says so much about his character. And when he sees a kindred nature in Catwoman, he's like, oh, maybe I don't have to be alone. He is desperately looking for connection. It's the same with the Robin thing. It's not weird because he takes a teenage boy in. He's like, this is the child that died in me. So I can help him, and it's not weird. It's brothers, they're best friends, you know. Like I
It's
think
Michael Jackson, really.
it's without a lot of the
Sorry.
Michael Jackson stuff.
That's a great call.
Sorry.
But yeah, it is Michael Jackson, but without all the pedophilia part of it. You brought it up. Okay, I didn't bring it up.
Sorry.
Isn't there
No.
isn't there also like recorded history that Michael Jackson wanted to play Robin in
Shut
the Batman movies?
Yes,
Oh, man.
Do you know it's crazy? I was actually thinking about this the other day, and pre-internet days, like where did we even get our information? And I still remember when Batman '89 was getting made, and the rumor and the talk. And again, when you go, it was just talking to your neighbor next door over the fence, or something like that. And the rumor was like one of the things they wanted to have Michael J. Fox as Robin. Jack Nicholson, I feel like, was always the Joker. There was different talks on who would be Batman.
Bill Murray.
And I was going to say there was talks of the Bill. I remember hearing the Bill Murray thing and Eddie Murphy as Robin, and it's just like crazy to think all the things that you sort of hear, but then that actually is confirmed like years later. Like you get on IMDb or you hear these documentaries. Like, how does an Australian kid living in Greensboro hear from his neighbour over the fence? Like who? Like unless it's a little snippet in a newspaper, which it probably was. I was like, how does that even? In this, like back in the late 80s, how does that information sort of filter back to Australia about who might be up for a particular role? I've kind of lost my train of thought, but
That's right.
We're with you, man. Keep going.
no, but
to research my own.
Yeah, but
my own
it's
statement.
just funny how they again like just come up with some of these people that they were talking about. I know Adam West was even wanting to still be Batman. Like
He did
that was a
say
crazy. Like he was all
Yes,
a
he
bit
could be
upset
Batman
that he
in
wasn't
Batman.
offered, and it's like, well, he could have been Alfred. That would have been cool, but
That would have been awesome. I mean, Michael goes amazing. The one that I always was shocked at, and they've recently done this they did like an official sequel to Batman Returns that sort of retconned out Forever and Robin and Batman and Robin in the comics, and it's who was originally cast in this film in Batman Returns was Marlon Wayans was cast as Robin, and
He got
it was.
paid.
He got paid. They did costume tests. They'd made toys. He still gets residual checks from this movie because the script that is published is the script with him in it, the one that the original Sam Hamm draft. And
that was the first thing that was ripped out of it, pretty much.
Imagine how stuffed it would have been, like just impossible.
Yeah,
It would have been
brilliant
Batman
choice.
Forever, wouldn't it?
Yeah, brilliant choice to get rid of Robin from this movie. I got my R's wrong. It was the Riddler that Michael Jackson was trying to get cast as in Batman Forever. He wanted to be the Riddler.
Right.
Which-
Okay. Everyone was vying for that. Robin Williams wanted it for ages as well.
yes.
Yeah, that was a crazy one.
But I think in fairness, like Robin Williams would have cost them a bit of money, and Robin probably spoke to Jack and spoke to Danny, and they're like, make sure you get a good paycheck and get 5% of residuals or whatever. And they're like, no, we'll go with this newer guy, Jim Carrey. He's a bit crazy, might come a bit cheaper.
But in the end, probably not, because within 18 months, I think he had Ventura, Ace Ventura
Mask.
2, The Mask, Batman and Robin, and then Dumb and Dumber, for which he gets paid $20 million. Like, it would have cost him 10 at least. I don't know how much Robin would have been, but shit. Robin Williams, this is not Robin, the little kid.
Batman and Robin. It would have been confusing too.
Would
Robin's
have been
in
a
this
bit,
movie. Oh, the character? No, Robin Williams. Is he playing Robin? No, he's playing the Riddler. Robin's playing the Riddler, but Robin is also in this movie. Too much. I got a question for all of you. Why the fuck does the Penguin have so many umbrellas? He lives underground.
Hasn't seen the sun for a long time.
No sun, no rain. Why does he have umbrellas? Hannah, why has the Penguin got all these umbrellas? Please
Are
help
a
me.
lot of them broken? Is it like trash that he's collected?
Yeah.
And then he turns them into weapons.
That's such a fucking good argument. I've never thought of that before. Amazing.
How do you think of this stuff? I don't stop and consider.
Because he's got a bin full of umbrellas that he's like pulling out. And I'm like,
Okay,
you don't go up. You don't go up above.
No, but here's my theory. He's not above ground necessarily, but he's not really below when he's at the zoo. Which is weird that Gotham has a decommissioned kind of zoo, or
Specifically for creatures that live in the cold.
yeah. But he's in the aquarium area,
weight
and they're
foundation on that one, you
they're
jerks.
probably umbrellas that have been left by people over the years. It's part of the lost property. That's explainable, but making them into weapons of choice is a little bit different.
Maybe it's a class thing. Like you see him kind of try and dress in, reclaiming his birthright. He starts dressing these things. Maybe it's just about that, like in his head. But then again, he doesn't know where he's from at first.
But don't
So he
they say
doesn't
in the
know that
movie
he's of
he
high class.
does? And this is all like him pretending to try and find out who his parents are so he can actually get the names of all of them Gotham's firstborns. Isn't that like the whole... I mean, and that's another question I have. What is the plot of this movie? Because the best that I can surmise it to is this is about an insane mutant who wants to murder all of the firstborns in Gotham. Like the rest of the movie isn't actually the plot of the movie. It's just some shit going on. And then we get to the meat of it, which is Oswald Cobblepot is pretending that he doesn't know who his parents are, but he actually does.
Mm.
And now that he's endeared himself to Gotham, he's using the freedom he has to get all this information about the firstborns so that him and his circus crazies can go and kill everyone. Is that
I'd say that the plot is Shrek. It's this billionaire guy trying to run Gotham, manipulating two supernatural creatures for his own nefarious ends, and Batman keeps getting in the way. Whereas if you talk about theme, it's more about monsters have hearts too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off there, Hannah. What were you going to say?
No, similar to the monsters have hearts, but doesn't the penguin really just wants to be loved and accepted? Yeah, like that's how most of it starts out, as that he just wants to be loved by everyone, and Christopher Walken sort of helps promise that to him, but then he's nuts, and Batman gets the CD out and blasts his quotes to the world and ruins everything, but. Like, isn't it the thing he just wants to be loved because he hasn't had love from anyone other than
sometimes a little bit too much though. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes he wants to be loved a little bit too much. Like that scene where he gropes the
pin
with the button, like he's full Harvey Weinstein.
You say he just wants to be loved, but Cable did remind us all before that we see the news articles that for years the Red Triangle Circus was linked in with the disappearance of children.
Yeah.
Until the point where they got shut down. So has he just been on a murder spree for his whole life?
Absolutely.
And this time he's gotten smart and I'm not just going to go be the circus freak and steal kids. I'm going to pretend that I just want to be loved so I can kill kids.
Oh, he absolutely uses it as a manipulation. Yeah, 100%.
He does have a bit of a point, however, because he's giving his speech and Batman gets out and does the wiki wiki wawa on the CD. And less than 30 seconds later, police are shooting at the penguin in the street, trying to gun him down as he runs away. They don't even hesitate. Hey, maybe we should check this out. This could be something weird going on. Someone could have imitated him. No. Get the guns, boys. The freak's going down. And they just chase me. They don't even try to catch him. It's just there he is. Get him. Bang, 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 bang.
Mob mentality. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. You're talking about weird things, and maybe this also comes to the whole weird, what time frame are we in? How many people have tomatoes and stuff to throw at somebody?
Yeah, they're ready. They are ready to go.
Old school, let's go to a peaceful, the mayor's going to speak, but we'll take tomatoes if we don't like what he says.
It might have been market day, just before that.
And the thing, the penguin makes a joke about it too.
He says, "Why do people always bring tomatoes to speech?
Why does people eggs and tomatoes for a speech?"
I do love, you were talking about the, kind of the penguin and the nobility or where he's come from, and it's when you grew up with the Burgess Meredith penguin in the old series, and he is that sort of upper class, almost tough, and he's got the top hat and the monocle and the cigarette,
cigarillo,
all that sort of stuff, and then they go, oh no, this is going to be a really dark version of, he's a complete, he's born a freak and he's been in a sewer, and then they kind of try and dress him up like the mayor, and I thought that was where it was going to go, and they didn't really go there, but it's weird. It's almost again they're going for that look, but they never take him there. It's almost this is red herring of, no, we're going to keep him. He's pretty much going to be the freak the whole movie, and
they ape it as well because they got to give him the cigarillo, and they're reclaim your birthright, and he spits it out of his mouth. That's them saying clearly, unequivocally, this is not what you think it's going to be. Yeah, he wants to kill some kids.
Burgess Meredith was going to play his dad at the start.
Yes,
he was all set to go, but he was sick. He couldn't do it, so they got Paul Rubens. Pee Wee Herman is his dad, so he never stood a chance. The poor guy.
Who got sick later on?
Burgess Meredith. Yeah. Oh, Paul Rubens got sick later on. Yes,
yeah.
Right.
I more meant he got caught masturbating in a cinema.
Yeah.
It's nothing. There's nothing sick about that. What are you talking about?
It's nothing sick about that.
It was a dirty cinema. There was a
what cinemas do you go to? And remind me not to go there.
Didn't someone get in trouble in the States for doing that at Madam Web?
Yes,
recently?
Someone was catching a beat at Madam Web. And look, I mean, that's not the thing that you do in public, but that movie was pretty fucking boring. So I can understand being like, you know what, this movie's so bad, I want to end my life. And you know what, I'm going to have a wank before I go. Why not? Treat
That's
yourself.
what it reeks of. It's like someone's like, I'm so bored, I want to ruin my life. I
Get
want to
caught.
absolutely I want to get fired. I want to shame my family. I want my wife to leave me.
Yep.
That's how much I'm not into
That
it.
guy didn't have a wife. Are you kidding me? Mr. Mouthful of Maltesers while I have a wank in the cinema does not have a wife.
See, when you say mouthful of Maltesers having a wank in a cinema, you make it sound like a good thing. You've got to be like more specific. Like that's a good day. That's a good day.
It's Toblerone for me.
He was 40-year-old virgin, and he probably 200 pounds.
I didn't see him from that perspective, but it doesn't seem like something that someone would do if they knew that, yes, perhaps my wife might see this.
I love the vibe of this conversation. It fits right in with the horniness of the movie.
It really
It's great.
does. I mean,
This movie,
Love it.
mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it, and so can Maltesers if you then catch a beat. You beat it like it owes you money. Anyway, keep going.
Is this the sexiest superhero movie ever?
Yes, 110%.
I was racking my brain trying to think if anything even comes close to like just the pure horniness.
Like straight comic book movie
okay,
adaptation.
Yeah, or just like any kind of superhero movie. I mean, if you've got something that's on the fringes, I'd love to hear it because I feel like this really stands on its own as.
It really is. Like
Well, it would have really been if Batman had nipples in this one.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
And the ass shots.
yeah, like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are horny movies, but for a very different reason. And God bless, Joel Schumacher was an incredible filmmaker. I love his movies. I'm a real big fan. I actually watched Phone Booth last night, which
that's a good movie.
Holds up, man. Colin Farrell is just putting it down in that movie. Like, what a talent. But anyway,
Batman Forever is one of the great films of all time. I love Batman Forever.
It's good. It's a great movie. It's a really great movie.
Hannah just sneered.
Do you not like it, Hannah?
Phone booth.
No.
Batman
Sorry,
Forever.
Batman Forever.
Oh, there's fun elements to it.
That's a no.
No, there's elements, but the Tim Burton ones are my favorites. Like,
Hands down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just can't-
without
I prefer. I can't stand the Batmans. I can't stand Val Kilmer and Clooney. I just love the villains in those two.
No, I
movies.
agree with that. I think I love Val Kilmer as an actor, but I just like after Keaton, I was kind of like Batman Forever, and this is probably for another time for another podcast. But it was just too much. It was too jarring for me to have Michael Keaton and then go to Val Kilmer, which I think is very different. But I think apart from that, I think Jim Carrey is the Riddler, and yeah, it's kind of a pretty sexy movie. And then Chris O'Donnell's Robin, and
I mean, like you said
Drew
before,
Barrymore was
Drew
in there.
Barrymore
And
is
then,
really, and I can't remember the name of the evil henchwoman, but she's been an actress who's in.
It's
Debbie Mazar.
It's not
Yes,
Debbie
Debbie
Mazar.
Mazar.
Yeah, and they're sugar and spice. I think it is.
Sugar and
Yeah,
Spice.
they're really sexy, but like they are sexy, but their interactions with Tommy Lee Jones are not sexy.
No,
Whereas,
that's
like,
because Tommy Lee
every
Jones looked like a
person-
fucking catcher's mitt.
But every
He's a
person,
great
Michelle
actor, but he was
Pfeiffer-
leathery as fuck.
Like Michelle Pfeiffer, her interactions with Christopher Walken are sexy.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have picked that just off the scripts. Like,
What about Poison Ivy? Uma Thurman. Oof.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
she,
total
again,
babe.
she's incredibly sexy, but her interactions with like Bane or even her interactions with Clooney, like you get two of the hottest people on the planet trying to play like pure sex, and it seems so awkward and weird. It's just not right.
Everyone was there for different reasons, I think. I mean, in this film, there is a scene where Catwoman grabs Batman's dick off camera. I mean, you're not going to find sexier than that. I don't know what other pictures you guys might be thinking of, but I can't think of another one that has this much sort of
I can't think of
horniness.
anything. Like,
Yeah.
and they don't even really try. Like modern superhero films, especially like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe era, are so sexless and neutered down to like to the point where superheroes basically just have no genitals anymore. Like Tony Stark is kind of the only one who you look at and be like, he fucks.
He
Like, that's
fucks,
because he's Tony Stark, which is just Robert Downey Jr. There was no hiding it. But you look at Steve Rogers, and his whole thing is like, oh, there's only one girl for me, and she died a long time ago. I was like, yeah, that's just because they don't want you to try and even begin to have any sex going on. And then Scarlet Witch and the Vision are like, we're hot for each other. It's like, but he's literally genitalless. So whatever.
Oh no, he's manifesting some genitals when they're hooking up at the beginning of Infinity War. There's some stuff going on. Like
But
he's
interactions-
literally a giant vibrator. The dude. You know?
They don't do anything with that. They don't do anything with it. It's
I am. I'm doing
'Cause
stuff with it. It's
Disney.
fine. Yeah, that's the thing.
But that's what I
yeah.
mean. And we they're just cucks. Modern superhero movies are cucks. Like just the pussy I've been looking for. We're never gonna get that in a superhero movie again.
Never.
Unless
never
it's like
again.
Deadpool. And even Deadpool, like, isn't sexy.
No,
Deadpool's funny and
it's
crude. but
yeah,
not
it's
sexy.
crude and juvenile. Yeah, in
Yeah.
a good way, but it doesn't
Oh,
have
in the best way.
the sex appeal that this
Yeah,
one does.
like,
And
It has
Keaton
literal
and
sex
Michelle
scenes, and
Pfeiffer
it's
have
sexy.
incredible chemistry.
Oh,
Like
100%.
they just crackle on screen every time they're with each other.
The
Like it's really
post-fight
specific.
makeout scene where like she reaches for where she stabbed him and then he touches
She's
where
got
he
the
burned
cut on
her.
her arm.
Yeah.
Somehow they make quite an upsetting concept hot as hell.
Yeah, man.
Like two people hiding their wounds from their nighttime activities, being vigilantes and villains. It's so sexy in this movie, and it's such a foreign idea these days that
Yeah.
you see that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a
even in the
much
dark
more.
and gritty, the Batman. You know,
There's no sex in that either because he's too busy being brooding. But in my letterbox review of this film, the first time I reviewed it was like Batman Returns, giving erections since 1992. Like it's just, it's a good.
But even
movie.
it was the first time I noticed it was the Masquerade Party, which is a weird theme for going into Christmas anyway. But
Every time you bring up a scene, it's on. It's so weird.
yeah, but the mask. Well, I know it's time stamped. I'm watching mine. No, I'm just kidding.
Weird.
So the Masquerade Party, and everyone literally has a mask on, yet Selena and Bruce both enter with no masks, and it's this whole thing of they're always, well, generally wearing a mask when they're doing their thing, and they come to this as normal people out of costume, and then everyone else is in costume. And I think that's just, again, brilliant storytelling, and on so many different levels.
Maybe that
and
is their mask.
Yeah, well, exactly.
That's the whole thing.
That's the
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the,
Bruce Wayne is the mask.
the Tim Burton auteur coming out, but I just thought it was something I hadn't really noticed before. Like, those things sometimes they come with a mask and they take it off and then they have the comment. Oh, hang on, no, they literally both come in with no mask. But yeah.
And he calls him. He's like, "Let me guess, you're a trust fund goody goody." That's what Bruce's mask is.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, but you're right about the sort of artifice is Bruce. The artifice is Selena. Like they are who they are. I think Bale did it well because he kind of played three characters. He had to play like the playboy fake version of Bruce, the one who comes in and is, buying hotels and all that kind of shit. And then he's got the real Bruce, who he is when he's with Alfred, and then he's Batman when he's Batman, Keaton didn't have the opportunity to do that kind of stuff because it's not really his movie, but that's sort of how I see it.
I love that Keaton's decision was just to play him as a massive weirdo. He was like, this guy's going to be a weirdo. Like he's just got all this money and no family, and he spends all his time up in this house with this old guy. And then when he's not doing that, he's out like punching people in the street. Like he's going to be a weird, socially awkward dude. He doesn't have social skills at all. And so that's why whenever you see him in parties or anything, he's always like nervously kind of just standing around the corner like the big fucking dweeb. It's like, oh yeah, that's very accurate. That makes a lot of sense, particularly in the 90s, like pre, people thinking that millionaires were famous just for being millionaires, and now that's what we have. Like people were rich for a long time before we started paying attention, and they just were real fucking nerds. I think that's Bruce is a big nerd. But also, speaking of costumes, something I never noticed before, which popped up this time, one of the Red Triangle Circus gang is dressed as a Native American for no reason.
Really?
Yeah, in the
didn't
scene
notice that.
where they tear his Batmobile apart, which I'm coming to,
Yeah.
and then they put in the tracker, one of them is just dressed as a Native American. They've just got they pop up very, very briefly the last time we see them in the abandoned zoo. But yeah, you've got like all circus performers and then a very, very Caucasian woman dressed as a Native American.
Amazing.
It's
I'm gonna have to go
absolutely-
back.
It's almost like they ran out of costumes. There's like, we just need to make you look a bit crazy. Put this on. We don't have any more tights. Just wear this. You're fine.
It's an old Lone Ranger one. But it's about 6 of them are ninjas. Like they're not dressed like ninjas, but they're doing martial arts. I'm like, how do you? Is that part of being an acrobat? What the fuck?
Well, that leads perfectly into my question. How the fuck do they figure out how to hack Batman's Batmobile? They're fucking jugglers. That's insane. This is like the most amount of money and the most amount of technical savvy in the world. And a couple of circus performers are like, we can do this. Do it poorly, by the way. Like they literally rip the car apart and are just like pulling wires out, like, and then they put it back together perfectly. and then they put it back together perfectly, and the tracking device is underneath the car.
Yes.
They didn't need to pull the thing apart.
It's
just
also
there.
bright red and white like a candy cane. Like what? Stealth, folks. Some stealth would be great.
What? How do they know how to do this? That struck me as being really absurd today.
That's all. That's all. No disrespect to any roustabouts listening right now. Like you may be geniuses, we don't know, but please, let us know about it in the comments.
Well, if they had have had one guy who was just dressed like one of the people who puts up the tent, like not a circus performer. It's like, Billy, get to work. I'm like, okay, yeah, the guy who's not a circus performer is probably one of those dudes who just picks up skills all over the world. It's like, for a while, he was a sushi chef. Like, he's just lived a life, this guy. He can rewire a Batmobile. Yeah. But all the circus performers like, no. You guys are just doing cartwheels and fucking fire breathing for your whole life, and now suddenly you're tech geniuses.
Now you're Robert Oppenheimer. What the fuck?
I do not buy that for a moment. I do want to talk about my funniest, the one part that made me laugh out loud because I love it, but it's also terrible. The very elaborate moment where Alfred and Bruce are talking about how they have to fix the Batmobile, and they've got all this work to do. And Bruce literally rolls up his sleeves to get to work, and then walks over to the fish tank and reaches into the fish tank, and then finds the castle and pulls a little switch, and then an Iron Maiden pops open, and it's got all the spikes that retract. And he goes, "Are you coming, Alfred?" And he goes, "I'll take the stairs, sir." And he gets in this Iron Maiden, which then closes, and it scans his face to make sure it's really him, and it drops out, and he goes down this slide into the Batcave. And as he gets out of the slide, Alfred is already walking down the stairs. Why? Why do you have this elaborate way to get into the Batcave when an old man can beat you just by walking downstairs?
That's an ongoing gag, isn't it? In
no
some of the other
sense.
movies as well. I think they do that a couple of times.
I'm sure.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an ongoing gag, but
It's definitely in
funny
the
every
third
time.
one.
That was one I rewound and watched a bunch of times. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
That's
This
also
old
their
man
best
beat you.
interaction because he says, we can't just take you to any old Joe's body shop. There's security to worry about. He goes, security? Really, Alfred? Who invited Vicky Vale into the Batcave? Like, that's
That
just
is really
such a slam. Like, fuck you, idiot. Remember when I docked your pay? Remember when that happened? When I halved your pay for the year because you brought Vicky Vale into the Batcave? Yeah, let's bring that up again, dickhead.
I broke
Sorry.
both your thumbs for that one, you piece of...
He didn't break his thumbs. He just didn't give him the Christmas bonus that year, and he didn't get as much super.
Speaking of security, the start of the movie when he's sitting in his chair brooding, which is there's that shot where he's just sitting by himself, essentially seeing them being like, I hope someone does crime tonight. I'm very sorry. And then he's just sitting, he's like, if only someone murdered someone, I could have something to do.
It's great.
But then the bat signal goes off, activating mini bat signals all over Wayne Manor, which aren't hidden in any way. They're just bat signals all. Like if anyone just walked past his house, like, is that a bunch of fucking bat signals on Bruce Wayne's house? Oh, I guess that guy's Batman.
The other argument for that is who installed them? Because Alfred's not fucking doing it. He's 786 years old.
No, that was the punishment for letting Vicky Vale in. He's like, you get the fuck
Oh, is
out
it?
of that turret. I don't
No, he
care
must
if
have
we
had
don't
contractors to
scaffolding.
do it, right?
Yes.
He's hired contractors, and then after they're done, he's like, okay, I'll pay you. I'll drop the check off at your house. Where's that? And then he's gone there and he's batteranged them to death.
I mean, this leads to the large argument about the Batcave in general in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
the Batcave has a large, elevated, rotating platform for the Batmobile and the
How
Batmobile.
fun is it though? I miss all this in the latest movies. Like, this is the stuff that I want in superhero.
That's why you gotta go
movies.
see The
It's
Flash.
So fun.
You should go see the Flash.
It's not
honestly.
as
You should.
You're right, Hannah. It's also practical now. It's just like, oh, what would it be like in the real world? What would Superman be like if he was real? He's fucking not. He's imaginary. So just let him fly. Or Batman's not real. Let him have a rotating thing. And he's like the Bat cave rather in Batman Forever is outrageous. That shit is neon. And there's glowing stuff and intruder alert and it's all green and everything. Like that's I'm with you. I want some color back in this shit.
Yeah. Is it just me? Did the Batcave in this one look bigger or different to the first movie?
I think it's
definitely look different.
different. I don't know. It's bigger, but except where you see the wide shot where he's like fixing the car and he's like, and then you can sort of see them on the two pillars.
The drawbridge for the whole cupboard of bat.
The
bat
cupboard.
suits, I mean, what else do you call it? They're on hangers. They're literally
It's a walk-in
That's
wardrobe,
what
Dick.
yeah,
All right?
walk-in robe.
It's
He's
a
got-
walk-in robe of bat
was-
suits.
whatever you call it. It's not where bat suits should be.
No,
Like just a row of them on coat hangers.
I
that
like the one he had in
moves-
the first one was the big vault door
Yeah.
that he opened. Like that was cool.
Mm.
He started disrespecting the suit a bit in this one. He doesn't seem to love it as much.
Well, he ripped off the cowl just to show his face. Like, what?
And also, there's not abs there anymore. It's like fucking the front of a aircon. Like
Yeah.
it's got these weird grills. I don't know what's up with that.
And that's how he ends up getting stabbed. It's the same problem that happens with the Chris Nolan ones. He needs
Yeah.
panels so he can move, but it leaves him vulnerable to getting stabbed.
There's an explanation for that though. Like in this one, he gets stabbed by one of those knitting needle things you use to unstitch. Like if your armor can't take a knitting needle, it's shit. You've got shit
She's
armor.
super strong. She has zombie strength now.
Oh,
you're
of
a
course.
zombie,
I forgot about the
Household
zombies.
objects
Mm.
can be forced through stronger things far
You're right.
easier. It's weird that this movie is set at Christmas, but also I think this is probably one of the top 5 Christmas movies of all time. What do you think?
Hannah would say that too.
Is it one of the? Where do we all stand? I can't be.
Oh,
insane
100%.
with this idea.
Yeah.
Like it's. I can only really think of a couple others that are
Mm.
better Christmas movies.
So, well, the argument then becomes, what is it a Christmas movie? Because I was talking about this with the Addy, my podcasting partner, about it last Christmas, and he was saying it has to be like, you know, Santa-like and supernatural, and you know that kind of thing. In order, and my argument is, if it's set at Christmas, you watch it at Christmas time.
Yeah.
That's sort of my thing. You know, it's like fucking Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Absolutely a Christmas movie. Die Hard. So if this was. So, do you agree with that, Hannah? Cable said you would agree with that. What are the other two?
Well, I agree
What's
with what
another
you're
top
saying.
two?
I just never, because it's not one that I've watched a lot and didn't grow up with. It's not. I've never really had it as a Christmas movie. I get why you would say that, but it's like for me at its core, it is a superhero movie. And so that's why I just sort of, you know, you're not going to the old video store or Blockbuster and you're finding this in the Christmas movies aisle. You're having it in the superhero aisle. Yeah, like
I used to work at Blockbuster, and every Christmas I would change the tab. I'm not shitting you. Furniture Galley Blockbuster, and I would do it every year.
wow.
Into the seasonal section. What is, like? Give me another two then that are like controversial, and you can't say Die Hard because that's just being internet. It's being internet.
Well, no, I've always said Die Hard's Christmas, and I've been saying that for years until at his roast, Bruce Willis said Die Hard is not a Christmas movie; it's a Bruce Willis movie.
Yeah, and that's a good argument.
I don't know. I think there's movies with fleeting, like there's so much more happening that it just happens to be set at Christmas, and Christmas is not important to the story. So a movie we've talked about before, me and Angus, is Gremlins 2. The first movie is set at Christmas, and it is very Christmassy, but it's not really about Christmas. It didn't have to be at Christmas. It just has to be that Gizmo was a Christmas gift.
Yeah,
And that the whole thing is about the Gremlins, and it really, Christmas is just so secondary to that movie, and that could have easily been changed script wise to Easter or any other holiday or no holiday at all. It's about the Gremlins. So
I say as far as these ones that are kind of like tangentially related to Christmas, and let me know how you feel about this. Iron Man 3 and Eyes Wide Shut. They're the ones they're the other two that I think of when I think of like the level of Christmasing that's going on is maybe not Christmassy enough, but it's the same as Batman.
Well,
Returns.
talking about Iron Man 3 and Shane Black, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is set entirely at Christmas.
Fucking love that movie.
I also like Go. Go is set at
yeah, I
Christmas.
love. Yes, I love that.
That's
yes.
right.
Is
Yeah.
is that a Christmas film? I don't know, but it revolves entirely on Christmas. I think this movie kind of crosses over that argument a bit purely for the line, mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it, but a kiss can be deadly if you mean it. Because that line is hot as shit. And I think it's the whole reason they set this movie at Christmas, because the writers came up with that line like, fuck it, this is going in December 23rd. I don't give a shit. That is a good line. We're putting it in.
That's
But it
just them watching been watching Double Indemnity and a Sunset Boulevard and Chinatown and all of these movies in a row and going, hey, let's put all this stuff in a Batman movie. That's absolutely a film noir line.
Yeah, I think my serious answer, I think this movie's set at Christmas and is a Christmas movie because it is about Like, what is more central to the idea of childhood and hope and children's dreams than Christmas time? And you have a character who is trying to recoup their childhood because their parents were murdered and they don't really know where they are, fighting against another character who was abandoned by their parents and is trying to figure out who they are and reclaim that lost innocence. And to the point where, like, you know, he has the umbrella that is the kid's toys. Like, he clearly hasn't let go of stuff. He drives around a giant rubber ducky. Like, he's still really infantile in a lot of ways and behaves like a child in a lot of ways. And then you have this third character who is literally reborn. Like, this is about children trying to recapture their innocence any way that they can and manifesting it in any way they can, set against the backdrop of like the ultimate innocence and childhood holiday, which is Christmas. So it really is probably the perfect setting for these characters to go against, because it really does give us all those layers of, like, there is hope. You know, there is the tree, the lighting of the tree is instantly destroyed by the circus gang, and then they try to do a second time, and it's destroyed again by murdering the ice princess. Like, every time.
Well, I forgot we
they try to-
hadn't talked about the murdering of the ice princess, but yeah,
it's a pretty savage death. A pretty
Long
savage
dart.
and surprising death that you don't see coming. Every time I watch it, I forget that she's about to just get kicked off the fucking roof and die, like, horribly, die screaming. You don't see that a lot in these kind of movies.
No, not in the same kind of, not comical but cartoonish kind of fashion. You know, Batman pushed the princess and all that stuff. I think that's such an astute observation about the kind of recapturing of you know, childhood and after the loss of innocence. And it's the final line is, you know whatever may come, sir, Merry Christmas, he says, and goodwill to all men and women. And then the rise up to see Catwoman, like, it does. The camera even rises up at the end. You know, it does have
hope. You get hope and
it's a hopeful
resurrection,
film.
and you get, like, now we're past Christmas, we're moving on to the next phase, and that means, you know, Selena Kyle can move on to the next phase of whatever her life is, and Bruce will keep trying, and Penguin ultimately failed. So the three of them get the three different results of that effort. You get success, you get not success or failure, and then you get abject failure, and they're all equally compelling. I think this movie has the best ending of any Batman movie ever, and probably one of my favorite endings in any movie, particularly from this era. Like, it's perfect. Like, from the moment that they get into the lair in the abandoned zoo, I think it's just non-stop, like, 5 stars. Every line, almost every shot, every beat is like, that is just, that on its own 5 stars. That on its own 5. Like, it's just beautiful and captivating. And I remember watching as a kid and being like, this is cool, and having no idea what I was watching. Like, oh shit, Batman took off his mask. Oh fuck, Catwoman's kissing him and electrocuting. Oh jeez, oh, Penguin got shot up. Holy shit. Like, every part of it is captivating as a kid. And then you grow up and you're like, this is beautiful. This is weirdly beautiful.
What about the penguin procession with the
yes,
funeral?
that's what I was about to
Penguin
say.
funeral
It's
is
my
just,
heart.
yeah.
The poor little penguins are so sad. Their mate's dead.
I'd be sad too if my big fat penguin buddy was dead. But this scene, it's funny, you've done it now. It's happening right now. The scene between him and Catwoman, where she's like, "I would love to come and live with you know, in a mansion, just like a fairy tale, but I couldn't live with myself." Like, that moment. And then when he does take off the mask and you see that the eyeliner is now all of a sudden missing, and people are like, oh, it's missing, it's so stupid. No, it's not. It's just people didn't give a shit back then because they were like, oh, whatever, we'll just make it happen. Nowadays, they'd pay some poor digital artist, like, in white rice to do that, you know, digitally, like, track, animate the frames and all that shit. Who cares? Just let it happen.
Well,
Does
in
the
Batman,
story
you
make
see,
sense?
every time you see Robert Pattinson out of the mask, he's got, like, smudged eyeliner all around, and it becomes distracting. Honestly, you're like, can you
got boot
wash
polish.
your face?
Yeah.
You're rich. Come on, you have soap.
Yeah, but have
I
you not
know
seen The
do.
Flash?
Me? No.
No. Oh, you have.
You're all
Gus,
good,
yeah.
Hannah. Don't even worry about it, mate. Like, don't even worry about it. It's
No,
totally
don't listen
cool.
to him. Don't listen to him. You should watch The Flash. You should definitely watch The Flash. But yeah, like a perfect ending to, like, all three characters, which is such a hard feat to pull off. Like, did it leave any of you guys wanting more at the end of the movie? Did you wish that anything had happened that didn't happen?
Catwoman
so.
movie. which is kind of
Michelle
what they were
Pfeiffer.
teasing. They were like, it was the same thing that happened with Johnny Depp when he was playing Jack Sparrow. They're like, holy shit, this movie is now about this guy. Let's keep it going. They were like, we're going to make a Catwoman movie, Michelle, so we're going to have your stunt double rise up at the end. That wasn't actually supposed to happen. That wasn't supposed to.
Yeah,
be
that was very late.
Final shot.
Yeah.
And then they were trying to make it, and she didn't want to do it, and Ashley Judd was going to do it, and then Sean Young was interested again until they ended up coming all the way back around to doing the Halle Berry one. But a Michelle Pfeiffer spin-off of this, I could have taken that.
Yeah.
I still could. I think you could still do it.
The fact that she didn't turn up in The Flash, sorry, spoilers, is fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
But it leaves the door open. We can still get Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman movie.
Michelle Pfeiffer's.
Michelle Pfeiffer can still be Selena Kyle in her, what it would be, 50s now? Is she in her 50s?
She'd be early 60s.
Yeah, she had
And
60s.
She's in the Ant-Man pictures, and
Really?
she for me is like Cyndi Lauper. All of the times, just she's amazing, stunning, beautiful, just like the peak of feminine perfection. All of the times that she's been, now and then.
So let's get
My
her in a
wife
fucking
doesn't watch
Catwoman
this.
movie. Guys. Let's
She
do it.
knows.
Well, this brings me to a couple of questions I have about this movie, because I've made up my mind, but I'm curious to see whether I'm alone on this island. But this is the best Catwoman ever. We already discussed that. I think we all agree that Pfeiffer's best. Is Keaton the best Batman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Regan, are you thinking, or did you say?
I
yes or
feel
no?
like it's only unfair because he didn't get as much time with the character. I think he's a better Batman, but I think that Bale is a better Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good distinction. Best Penguin, is this our best Penguin that we've seen on screen?
Hands down. Apart from the little ones that you see when you go down to Phillip Island, this is the best penguin.
Because we've had a few now. We've got I can't remember the name of the actor, but we got the Penguin was the main character in the Gotham TV show. We got
He was good.
He was really
he was
good.
good.
Yeah.
We got Colin Farrell in The Batman, who I thought was awesome. He's getting his own TV show. He gets a spin-off. Give us a Catwoman spin-off, you cowards. And also going back
flex.
to, I'm including the 66 series. Like, I think he's better than
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
okay.
think that goes the same for Pfeiffer with Catwoman. I think she's better than any of the 66 Catwoman.
Julie Newmar was pretty great, but she just like the depth of character just isn't there because they weren't interested in that.
Is Goth the best Alfred? Is this our best
Yes.
on-screen Alfred?
Yeah, I feel like unless you go for the guy who did the voice in the animated series, the Bruce Timm Paul Dini animated series, like I still think his performances, especially in Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah, well, look, I feel like Batman the animated series almost has to be put like on its own.
You got to
separate
go to this.
standards,
Yeah,
like
fair.
this is the best all-round Batman stories that you're gonna get ever, and so you are gonna get things. But you're right, he is fantastic.
That's why I didn't say Kevin Conroy when you said best Batman before, because he's my Batman.
He's
honestly.
the best Batman.
Yeah.
Best. On screen, I should have specified. Is Max Shrek the best Shrek or the second best Shrek?
out of
all the Shreks.
out of him or Mike Myers.
Yeah, out of him or the ogre Shrek. Which Shrek is the better Shrek?
Oh man.
Well, the other
Tell you
Shrek
do
got
this
more
for a living.
movies.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shrek did get more movies, unfortunately.
All right, good. Best use of penguins in a movie? I can't think of any movie that's ever had penguins with rockets on their back. So
Yeah.
if you're thinking of a movie, rocket penguins beats it. Rocket
Every
penguins.
time.
That. Keep in mind, we know that where we have Austin Powers making jokes
Yes.
about it's sharks with lasers on their heads, and still, when you rewatch this movie, little penguins with rockets on their back is not ridiculous. I watched it. I was like, I hope those guys don't get hurt. I really hope those little guys are okay. And then they get to launch rockets from their back. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. Which,
But even Batman doesn't really buy into it because when he's going through the sewer in the bat skiff, and the two of the little penguins come out of the water and shoot rockets at him, and it sort of does the spiral within the tank, and it stops and it cuts to a close up of Batman, and he's like, just bewildered, like, what the fuck did I just have? What I used to fight people like who were robbing banks and doing heists and shit. Now I'm getting attacked by
2 years ago. Now I'm fighting fucking penguins and zombies.
aquatic birds and zombie women. Like, fuck. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit and get someone else to come into it.
And final question about whether or not the best is this the best It's a two. I guess it's an A and B version of the question. Is this the best superhero sequel title ever? And is this in contention for the best sequel title ever? I think Batman Returns is a fucking badass title
Yeah.
that also has a couple of layers to it. Because it's all, like I said before, it's all about returning to the roots of things. It's not just like the next one, and put it up against what we get today. Like
Now it's all the name of the character colon something or other, which makes sense when you're telling a story over a long period of time because
and then like
they're chapters.
like the third or fourth movie, they might throw in a subtitle, which are always shit, or they might drop the numbers and just go subtitles. Or in superhero ones, like it's basically like character name, plot of the movie, and that's the movie. Like
Deadpool and Wolverine's a great example.
Yeah, Captain America and Captain America, the Winter Soldier. You get, I mean, Iron Man's, they just did numbers, which I love. I wish they all just did numbers. I'm sick of the titles. But like Infinity War, Endgame, they don't do anything for me. They're just kind of meh. Am I alone on this island? Like, I can't think of any.
Apart from, unless you're talking about Indiana Jones pictures. But they're like serialized films.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
What about Days of Future Past?
Yeah, good call.
Yeah,
the X-Men pictures have good naming systems as they go along. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I'm going to call a flag on that one though, because they just stole that from the TV series.
Do you mean the comic book?
You're making up your own rules.
In the X-Men cartoon series, they do the Days of Future Past episodes, and they're called Days of Future Past Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah,
but
it's comes. Well, Days of Future Past was a series of graphic novels in the early '80s. Yeah,
but it had already been done in some
right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Thing. I don't know. That is a great title, but it's like the third time that it got used by the time they got around to putting it in a movie.
Batman Returns is like a tramp stamp. It's just like, there it is. This is what's happening. It's Batman and he's returning, and don't fuck around.
I think the only one that really rivals it for me personally is Batman Forever. I think that's a great fucking title for a movie.
Do you know what the fifth one was going to be called?
Of it, though.
You get bored of Batman Forever or Batman Returns.
Isn't Batman Forever number 3?
Yeah.
It should be number 4.
I completely agree. Yeah.
I hate the order of it.
To be Batman and Robin, and then Batman Forever.
Yeah.
The fifth one was going to be called Triumphant, and it was going to have the Scarecrow in it, and then Batman and Robin did really poorly, so they didn't end up making it. But there's a script out there and everything.
You know why Batman and Robin did poorly? Because they didn't have a cool title.
That's right.
See, you've kind of sold me on it, Angus, but to be honest, for the longest time, I never liked Batman Returns. I thought it was actually a lame title.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. I just think, I don't know what they would have called it, but I don't even like Batman Begins. I think that's just a lame title.
Says the guy who's got a DVD behind him that says Piranha 3 Double D.
That's a great title. But you have reminded me of Cable with Over Your Shoulder. I think the best sequel title of all time is Die Hard with a Vengeance, and I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
I think that might be the best sequel title, but I think Batman Returns is the best superhero sequel title, or maybe just superhero movie title. Like it doesn't give anything away, but it still ties in with themes, and it just sounds fucking cool. Like you say Batman Returns, you're like, yeah, put it on.
I always looked at it as like, it kind of feels like, oh, Batman Returns. Like we weren't sure if he was going to, but we brought him back, so he's coming. But like, it's Batman Returns. Like,
but wait,
after Terminator 2, why didn't they just do B2, like Returns or something like that?
We weren't ready. For that. So I was saying before when we first started, this is my favorite Batman movie and my favorite superhero movie, hands down. Like any of the others, don't even worry about it. Go around the horn, like what else? Everybody else's favorites. Doesn't have to be this. You don't have to pander to me. It's okay. I can handle it.
Hannah, what are you thinking?
To me. Yeah.
Come back to you,
Angus.
Yeah.
Like I think, I up until recently, I probably would have said the '89 Batman, but rewatching this, like I had so much fun, and I remembered how good Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman is, that it kind of going back to '89 Batman after watching Batman Returns, it's one of those cases where it feels like something is missing in the first one now, because you could have that. That being said, I think I think it's a movie that I'll return to for the rest of my life with absolute glee. So I think the 89 Batman is my favorite superhero movie.
Fair.
I don't think anything has ever topped it for me. And part of that's probably, I was the right age, when I saw it.
Yeah, I think that's got a
I
lot
already
to
loved
do with
Batman. I saw
Yeah.
Batman. I don't know how, but I kind of knew Michael Keaton. Like when I saw he was Batman, I was like, that guy.
Mr. Mum
Yeah, probably Mr. Mum.
and Beetlejuice.
But yeah, like he wasn't just this arbitrary dude. Although I do remember as a little kid, sometimes getting confused between when I was looking at Bruce Wayne and when I was looking at Knox, because they look kind of similar with their curly
Yeah.
hair. And I was like, why go with curly hair? That's got to be Batman. And then they're talking to each other. I'm like, wait, that's not Batman.
Looks like he's
That's the other
fucking
guy."
stunt double.
It does look like he's stunt double. Yeah. Yes. Hannah is really like agonizing over this, and I honestly
She's looking at
love
IMDb
how
going,
much-
fuck.
No, I love how much care you're putting into this because on this podcast, that's an important fucking question.
I
What do
don't
you
know
think?
if I can pick one. That's the problem. I think I pick one from like each era. Like I love
Cool.
Christopher Reeve's Superman.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, 78's incredible.
yeah, like I just don't know if I can pick one. And from the Bale ones, like Dark Knight is near perfect. Like it's an incredible movie. But
I
this
still
is
think
my
if you take
favorite.
Heath out of that, it suffers quite a lot though. If it was someone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah,
Sorry, I interrupted you.
absolutely. No. And that's why I think this still beats out Dark Knight. I think all round, like it just has everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll see you at the meetings. That was it.
it's
just me and you,
for that,
but-
right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So are we saying that this is the best superhero sequel? Or are we saying this is the best Batman
Wow, that's a big call.
sequel? What's because I feel like the group is like leaning towards a consensus accidentally.
No, well, I'll
We're
be the
suggesting
point of
that
difference.
this movie is better than The Dark Knight, which I'm more than happy to get on board with that argument. But that's kind of become the definitive best sequel or best Batman sequel. But a lot of times, best sequel ever or top 5 best sequels ever. The Dark Knight is in that conversation now. So if we're putting Batman Returns over The Dark Knight, then are we then entering the conversation of like this is at the very least in the argument for best sequel ever? Of a superhero?
I'm gonna like. Are we talking outside of superhero stuff? Just sequel?
No.
Well,
Oh,
like
no,
start
superhero.
small. Like just start superhero. Like
So,
is this
yeah.
the best superhero sequel ever?
I can't think of one. I mean, I know that it's a series of films, but you're saying the best second movie.
Yeah.
The second.
Yeah, I
Best
can't think of
part
another
two.
one.
I am very partial to Spider-Man 2.
That's one.
Yeah,
Oh, I
of
do
the-
love
slam
Spider-Man
dunk.
too.
Yeah, nice,
That's
nice
that's
one.
a great one that comes up. Yeah, I mean, we kind of hit that cycle after we get past Raimi's Spider-Man, and we get into Marvel territory, and then DC trying to ape that and do their own thing. All the sequels get real shaky real quick.
Yeah.
Like,
Having
in
said
fact,
that,
Marvel
though,
has had a sequel problem for years, where their second movies are usually bad, and then they fix it with the third one if they're lucky.
the Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier is my
The rare
favorite
exception.
Marvel movie. That's such a solid. It's a superhero movie masquerading as a 1970s like paranoid, political thriller.
I'd say it's the other
Um,
way. I'd say it's a paranoid political thriller masquerading as a superhero movie.
Okay, yeah,
3
exactly.
Days of the Condor, but one of the guys is Captain America.
It is 3 Days of the Condor. It absolutely is. Even got fucking Robert Redford in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everything
Captain
else,
rules.
like Iron Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Avengers Endgame, Thor the Dark World, like all of those movies were disappointing across the board, even for diehard fans.
Mm.
And they had to get around to 3. Like it's hard. It's very hard to make a good, strong follow-up. Like I love the Deadpool movies, but I think Deadpool 2 is great. But if you back to back with Deadpool 1, it's like it's just not as good. Like it's
Yeah.
just hard to do that twice. You get Elektra if you try to spin off from Daredevil. things get choppy pretty quick.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if you're starting with Daredevil, it's not you're sort of that's a rough pitch. You're putting from the rough, is what I'm saying.
Look, the way things are going, we're definitely going to get another Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. But that does lead me on to one of the last things, which is kind of been touched on a little bit here with varying degrees of enthusiasm. But Batman Returns kind of got a sequel last year in The Flash, where we get Michael Keaton back as Batman in the continuity of the Batman Returns, and even flat out like tells the audience at the end that the other, like Val Kilmer and George Clooney, are from alternate realities. They're not the same as the Michael Keaton reality. That's why they look different. That's why their worlds are different, which is kind of a nice little way to be like, yeah, the reason there's so much fucking neon in Forever and Batman and Robin is it's not even the same universe, bro. You haven't seen it, Hannah. You haven't seen The Flash.
No.
Regan, you seem to have some strong opinions. How do you feel about the final chapter in the legacy of Michael Keaton Batman being played out last year as a sort of what was, I guess, intended to be a surprise, but then heavily marketed cameo?
I don't even
character.
Yeah, I don't even put it in the canon. Like it is a $300 million fan film, that picture. I had a great time. Went with Cable and my camera assistant Alex to go and see it at the premiere. I had a fucking blast at the premiere, but it wasn't the movie that was fun. It was the experience. And I've since watched it again. Just to kind of, I don't like being negative. That's not how I do things.
Yeah.
Like our show, the podcast I do, the Filmatics podcast, isn't a negative show. We only talk about stuff that we like. And so much so that when The Flash came out, we didn't do an episode on The Flash. We did an episode on the Flashpoint Paradox, which was the DC, direct-to-DVD animated film, because that was what we did. Yeah, and it's such a great movie. And we didn't really talk about The Flash, but yeah, I just don't think of it. They did my man dirty. Like, it's pretty rough, and that whole film, not just because of all the shit surrounding it, but just because it's a bad film narratively, and I didn't dig it.
Cable, how did you feel when you saw our man Keaton show up?
Yeah, no, it was great to see him back, and I like when actors want to come back to a character that they've enjoyed or maybe left for whatever reason and got over it and then realized how much they enjoyed doing it, but also how much the fans love them doing it, that they come back. And I thought Michael was great in it, and it was good to see.
He's good in it, yeah.
And it was good to see the Batcave and just all the other stuff with it. But overall, the film, like Regan said, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of laughs in the movie. But I mean, if you want to really peel back the layers of the onion, geez, there's a lot of issues there.
They bring back the dead. Oh, God. No. Sorry, I cut you off. But Cable liked it so much, though. Remember the guy from Madam Web? Yeah. It was sort of the same situation.
No, so I've never seen that. Oh, yes. Gotcha. Yeah.
I was sitting close to you, so I heard.
Yeah.
It was the Maltesers, wasn't it?
It was the Maltesers that gave you away.
No. I love Keaton's Batman so much. I was just happy to have him back. I didn't care.
But you know what's crazy too? Like, I don't want to keep dragging the podcast out too long, but the fact that he came back and he did significant stuff on the Batgirl movie, and that's just been totally shit canned by Warner Brothers, and you kind of go, wow. So Michael Keaton thought he was kind of making a comeback with Batman, and we only see it in, like Regan said, The Flash, which was heavily marketed because they knew it was kind of going to bomb and didn't make good money. So
because they couldn't market Ezra Miller for many reasons.
Yes.
So they had to pick someone else.
Then don't put two of the motherfucker in the movie then. And if you're going to make that mistake,
It's frustrating. The worst thing about the Flash movie is Ezra Miller as the Flash. Like, it's...
Yeah, that's rough.
And that's a hard thing to get past. And the second worst thing is the CGI, but that's not their fault. I don't blame the artists. They weren't given the time. There has been this conversation for years that, like, they should do a live action Batman Beyond movie and have Keaton come back.
They were supposed to. That was on the cards too.
And I think after the Flash, like, maybe it's back in the cards because he proved he's still friggin' got it.
Yeah.
And that I think is like the thing that brought me to talking about is, like, he's so good in Batman Returns, and then we just don't see him be Batman again, and we see all these other guys come and take over, not just Batman, but take over his Batman franchise, and then it gets rebooted, and then it gets rebooted, and then we have live actions, and then it goes on. And then he just comes back in 2023 and essentially, like, with a wink and a smile, but also very seriously, just deadpans the camera's like, I'm Batman. Oh, I think in this movie he says, yeah, I'm Batman. And I was like a little kid. I was like, fuck yeah, you are. Like, give someone $200 million and give 50 of that to Keaton, and let's make another fucking Keaton Batman movie right now. Let's go. Let's have old man Keaton Batman.
As long as Burton's nowhere near it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a Batman movie, although I guess he's lost his juice.
That's my hot take. I was a Burton fan back in the day, and I remember one of the first sort of projects I did at Cinema Studies when I was at La Trobe Uni was, the auteur and did a couple of his films. And yeah, he's eccentric. He's a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think in hindsight, the thing that actually annoyed me about it, and it's not really about this film, but it's about even just the pre-production of this film, that Burton just didn't seem to, I don't know how naive he could have been, but the fact that he didn't want to do a sequel to the first Batman, but almost in his brain didn't think that it could even be a thing and didn't really conceive of anything. And then when he was obviously handed a big check, then had some certain ideas, I'm like, mate, you made an amazing film in 1989 that made so much money, but you've got so many villains to explore: Catwoman, Penguin, Riddler, Two-Face. You got this huge possible franchise or spin-offs or whatever. How did you think it was just going to be one movie? Like, in what world, what universe? And I think just I don't know whether it was him being naive or being arrogant or whatever. Like, he was just like, oh, Batman, one and done, that's it. I'm like, okay, then step aside, give it to somebody else. I'm glad he did do Returns, but it just feels like again, what were you thinking, man? And that was a documentary I saw. I don't know if is it on the 4K, Regan? I don't know how old. It definitely wasn't filmed at the time, but it was one of those, I guess, retrospective things that he was talking about.
It was on the re-release they did of the DVDs and the Blu-rays. It's not on the 4K though.
Yeah, and just when I was watching that recently again, I was like, that just sort of just really annoyed me, because I'm like, you took the money. I understand it's a business, but you're also an artist. You decided to do a Batman film. You kind of have an obligation to either set something up for somebody else if you're not going to do another one, but also have in the back of your mind, there's a good possibility if you do a really good movie and makes money, you're definitely doing a sequel. So don't think you're not. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was, yeah. That's
at that
anyway,
time, maybe he didn't, didn't think about it. But also, you got to think about the evolution of himself as an artist, because the movie that he did in between these two films was Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah,
and like, think about that movie in its totality. Is I don't really believe in the auteur theory, but that is an auteur's film, and I think that the progression of him, and then doing this, it's like you don't get Hail to the Thief from Radiohead after OK Computer if they don't do Amnesiac and Kid A in the middle there. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a continuity of them growing.
Yeah.
This is my favorite of Tim Burton's films as well, which is, maybe I've got a huge bias. I don't know. I do like Mars Attacks though.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just wondering. Is this his best film, do we think? I mean, Regan,
this or Beetlejuice?
What do you think, Hannah? Is this your favorite Burton, or are there other things that?
I actually find Tim Burton a little bit hit and miss.
That's
definitely a lot more misses these days.
I saw when we did the Christmas challenge last year, I saw Nightmare Before Christmas for the first time, and I loved it. I loved it so much. So I think this, Beetlejuice, and that are probably my top three Tim Burton movies.
Hands down.
Hard to go past. I would argue he probably made, in my opinion anyway, he made 3 more good movies after this, and then it was like Car Crash City. Like
Sleepy Hollow.
He followed this up with Ed Wood, which is like
Edward's
a companion piece basically to Edward Scissorhands, where it's like, hey, I just made this insanely successful movie, so you're going to let me do whatever I want now. And the studio twice were like, yeah.
Sure.
And then he made, after Edward was Mars Attacks, which I think is fantastic. And then he made Sleepy Hollow. And then after Sleepy Hollow, it's Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes, and that's it.
That's it. That's over.
Good night, Vienna.
Funny, like, for someone who seems to like fashion himself as this bizarre, crazy artist, and who didn't want to do a sequel, they didn't want to come back to this character. The majority of their filmography is IP. It's remakes, and it's
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, I mean, Mars Attacks was trading cards. Sleepy Hollow is the existing classic story. Planet of the Apes is a remake.
Alice in
Charlie and the Chocolate
Wonderland.
Factory, Alice in Wonderland, Sweeney Todd, Dark Shadows was a TV show. Frankenweenie is a remake of his own movie.
And don't forget, he was going to do a Superman movie.
Yeah, there's a whole documentary about it.
That's right, with Nicolas Cage as Superman, which pops up in The Flash.
Get fucked.
Don't spoil all of it for Hannah.
Thangarian snare beasts.
Missing
Kiss my
Peregrine,
ass.
Home for Children, and Wednesday. Like his whole filmography post Batman Returns is essentially taking someone else's IP and remaking it and reimagining it. Like, if you're gonna do that, bro, do 3 more Batman movies. Come on, they're like the best adaptations you did. The other movies that are great if he's are the originals: Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood,
And we get Beetlejuice 2 this year.
and I tell you what, after the Flash and seeing just Keaton in the Flash and seeing how well he can come back to a character and crush it, I'm very excited for Beetlejuice because I think Michael Keaton is going to come back to that role and absolutely fucking destroy it because
He gets a free after Spotlight, free pass for life. Like that is like one of the finest performances from an American actor of all time. Whatever he does, I don't care if he wants to star in a film in which he murders my mother, I'll let him do it.
Yeah. Do you know what's crazy? I kind of feel like Keaton's just very underrated actor, and I think maybe because when he did Batman, people, as soon as some actors do maybe a character like that, they just kind of get pigeonholed, or it's like, oh, he's the Batman guy because that's their most famous role. But you just said Spotlight. But you know what other movie he's so good in? The Founder.
Yeah.
He is so good at it, and the way that he did that and went back and he, read all of Ray Kroc's books, went back and found all the archive video of him to get the mannerisms down and all that sort of stuff. Just amazing.
Yeah, he's an incredible performer. He's one of my top 5, I reckon, favorite actors. Like even in movies like Clean and Sober, so great in Good Cop.
Gang 6.
Yeah. Game 6 is actually really good. He did another one called Desperate Measures, in which he played a serial killer on like death row or something who's going to get a heart transplant to a little kid, and then he goes on the run and he's all yoked and shit. Like, it's a fucking awesome film.
And he's got a really funny small role in The Other Guys as well, which he keeps
dropping the salt and pepper quotes. Yeah. That's a good movie. Yeah. I don't like Mark Wahlberg, but par for the course.
I mean, I don't think it comes as a surprise to any of the listeners at this point, but I think we can say we like this movie. This is a good movie.
Yeah.
There's no bearing it here. Like, this is a big favorite of all of ours across all of the things that we've covered. It's Christmas movies, superhero movies, Michael Keaton movies, anything that.
I will say it's a shit kids movie. It's a good young adult movie.
You and McDonald's felt the same way. They had some issues.
Oh, actually, I was going to mention the toys, and did you? This is something that you may have seen in the trivia, but I do remember it, and it got refreshed to me a couple of weeks ago when I was looking up stuff. But they never copied the Penguin figure from this movie. So did you know that? So the Catwoman figure, well, the Batman and Catwoman, all those other characters were, likenesses of this film, but the Penguin was deemed too scary and sort of too dark. So all the Penguin figures were literally Burgess Meredith from the 66 show, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I remember that.
They just did a repaint job on it, yeah.
Holy cow.
And the duck toy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Man, I'd pay more money than is reasonable to have those toys again. I'm going to ban myself from looking on eBay for those.
Yeah, don't.
Can I just tell a really quick story about one of those toys? I had the Bruce Wayne, right? And it was one where you had it was just the Bruce Wayne toy, and then you had the cowl and the mask and the sort of top half of the armor that you kind of popped on top of.
Yes,
it,
yeah.
Right? And so you take it on. The toy was fashioned to look like Michael Keaton, and it had a really, really extreme receding hairline. So much so that it bothered me when I was a child. So I took a Sharpie to it and cleaned it up. And I don't know why I did that. I don't have a problem with the receding hairline of Michael Keaton's. He's a beautiful man. But when I was a kid, I was like, that's not right. That doesn't look like him. No, I'm going to have to fix that with my little Sharpie.
I had, not from this movie, but I had the Batman and Robin toys you could buy around that same time. And Robin was the green shorts, the short shorts and the red shirt. And I don't know why, but I had a problem with how short those shorts were. So I got a black Sharpie and I gave him pants. I was like, this is obscene. I can't have this. This is too short. And I don't know why I did that. I got no problem with short shorts.
That's really conservative of you, man.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just unbecoming of a young man dressing up as a superhero.
It wasn't you in the tights, motherfucker. It was just a small boy.
Oh my God. I think that's a great place to end this
Mm.
conversation about Batman Returns. Incredible film. Still stands up today. I did not watch the 4K, but I'm glad that the 4K.
Get the 4K. If you're a Batman fan,
really,
get
really
the 4K. Me and Regan obviously got the same box set, and yeah, putting it on, watching it on 4K, it's like, you know, when they clean up movies and they clean it up too much, but this is just perfect. You can just see it's really dark and black in the spots it's supposed to be dark and black, and then just the skin tones of the characters, and geez, it's pristine, isn't it?
Yeah,
It
man.
looks
Shot
beautiful.
like the representation of the rich blacks that you get from 35mm film. You know, they don't do that anymore. Everything's shot, you know, flat ass digital. And I shoot digital myself, so I'm, you know, I can't claim that I shoot film, but you know, it's just impossible to do anymore. But yeah, you just see those shadows and you see those highlights in such a beautiful way. And the remaster on Batman 89 is phenomenal as well. So yeah, if you're a Batman fan, I would recommend picking it up. Warner Brothers is not a sponsor.
I also recommend getting the score. Like I got the score for Batman Returns. I bought it on vinyl like a big old friggin' nerd, but the music is so good. Like
This is Denny Elfman's peak, the Batman Returns score. That is just
do not
high
get
level.
scores like this anymore. Where you can just listen to every song and be like, oh, I'm moved.
This slaps.
Incredible. Regan, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us on this episode, this very special episode. I still can't believe this is the first Batman movie we've done. It's insane to me. But this is wonderful. Regan, where can our listeners find you?
In Melbourne.
Give me your exact address.
Ferntree Gully Blockbuster.
It's #1 fuck
Or
off
if they
street.
just wanted to go on the internet and hear your voice.
Ferntree Gully and Blockbuster is now a fucking drive-through car wash, so no. Yes, I have a podcast. It's called the Filmatics Podcast that I do with my friend Addy. You can find us on Spotify and Amazon Music and YouTube and all the normal places. And we do this, basically. We just rap about films that we love, and it's a good time. So come and check us out.
Wonderful. Hannah, if people want to stalk you online.
Oh, don't bother. Honestly, I just put weird videos up of whiskey, so don't bother.
I love them. I think they're great.
I also love them.
Hannah, what was your last cosplay? It was Star Wars, wasn't it? Star Wars related?
Yeah, Darth Talon. Yeah.
Yeah, someone whose entire background at the moment is Funko Pops of various awesome looking things, who also specializes in drinking whiskey and dressing up like Catwoman. And you're like, don't follow me, it's boring. You don't
Fucking
wanna see
weirdo.
that.
Yeah. No.
I think the
Yeah, go and
last
follow
like,
some other
5
fucking
photos I put
influencer
up with
who's
my
got
own
doing
feed.
nothing.
So yeah.
Hannah, don't think you're the weirdo. You're talking to three blokes that are talking about Batman Returns on a podcast.
Oh, but it's such a good movie, though.
Yeah, it's so worth it. Oh, incredible.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
This
so
has been
much.
so much fun. Thank you for joining us. Listeners, thank you for listening to us. And just remember, not all sequels suck. Some of them are fucking Batman Returns. Bye. Hey, sequel suck fans.
My definition alone, they're inferior films.
I almost remake. Quick warning.
Sequels suck.
This episode is spoilers.
Films suck.
Over. Crazy.